Got money, I'll do anything for you. Got money, just tell me what you want me to. Got money, nail me up against the wall. Got money, don't want everything, he wants it all. No, you can't take it. No, you can't take it. No, you can't take that away from me. Head like a hole, black as your soul. I'd rather die than give you control. Head like a hole, black as your soul. I'd rather die than give you control. Bow down before the one you serve. You're going to get what you deserve. Bow down before the one you serve. You're going to get what you deserve. God, money's not looking for the cure. God, money's not concerned about the sick among the pure. God, money, let's go dancing on the backs of the bruised. God, money's not one to choose. No, you can't take it. No, you can't take it. No, you can't take that away from me. Head like a hole, black as your soul. I'd rather die than give you control. Head like a hole, black as your soul. I'd rather die than give you control. Bow down before the one you serve. You're going to get what you deserve. Bow down before the one you serve. You're going to get what you deserve. Bow down before the one you serve. You're going to get what you deserve. Bow down before the one you serve. You're going to get what you deserve. Black as your soul. I'd rather die than give you control. Head like a hole. Black as your soul. I'd rather die than give you control. Head like a hole. Black as your soul. The one you serve. You're going to get what you head like a hole. Black as your soul. The one you serve. You're going to get what you deserve.
Okay, I'm shutting up now 'cause the
Hello.
song stopped.
Hey,
I knew it. I knew it would
you
happen.
caught that right at the end, but Prince. Hello.
Yeah. Hello. I was just saying how I'm always the one that's talking when the
Well,
stream
that's
starts.
okay.
So
That's just, this isn't a professional outfit here. It's fine.
No.
We're here for episode 4 of The City is the End. Well, episode 3 point whatever because
3.2.
honestly,
we'll call it whatever we want to call it.
we'll
I
just
don't
call
think
it.
numbers.
I put episode 4 because I mean an episode, short or not, is still an episode.
Yes, for
Yeah.
people who weren't here last week, we got truncated because Elf's Discord
My
decided
Discord
to explode.
decided to just stop working. Which
And then
is...
started working again like 2 minutes after you cut the stream.
Yeah.
It
As
was
is the case with every technological problem, it resolves itself as soon as it's no longer an issue that it'd be broken.
Yeah.
No, the trick is just to give up early, and then it'll come right back.
To give up early, yeah. Life advice from Butt Prince.
That's what Yoda said, right? Never try.
I mean, he basically did say never try.
I am pretty sure that's a Homer Simpson quote.
Yes, no, I was thinking of that. Oh yes,
Yeah.
never try.
Yeah.
There are two kinds of tech problems. I forgot to do something stupidly simple, or this technology is haunted.
Yeah, it's one or the other. That's for sure.
Haunted Tech definitely fits for this game.
How's everybody been this week? You been doing good? I hope so.
Yeah, good.
I will refrain from comment.
Oh no, that doesn't. That sounds like maybe not good.
Well, you know, I just don't want to complain. Like, I don't worry when it's just sort of life problems, you know.
I
And
mean,
we're not in real life right now. We're playing a computer
we're
TTRPG.
we're in a much more dangerous, terrible place.
Yeah, and two of
Yay.
you are high on drugs, space drugs. as well.
That's
You have a stone
okay.
fish and a stolen fishing rod.
Oh, I noticed
Yeah.
it's. I noticed that Sam Studio has some new art prints. It's
Yep,
one. It's
there's a fish person
it's
token.
it's
right there.
wonderful.
Yeah,
it's
you
very-
can zoom in and
Sam Studio.
Actually-
Sam Studio is very expressive. Very sad looking. Oh my god, giant fish person.
Ah!
So I'm actually impressed how well it scales, considering it's like 74 pixels wide or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
or you know, I made it the smallest size because I'm not a premium member, so I don't get that much storage.
It is.
This is the.
It is
sorry, you go.
wonderful. It's good.
I was gonna say it could become a like Power Rangers battle where we all, you know, have to supersize our characters at the end of every fight
No.
to truly finish it off.
Okay, so I guess we should begin.
Yeah, I
The
suppose.
actual
I
thing.
suppose we should. We've got like
So-
we got catch up to do. You know.
Yeah, we can do a recap. It won't be long because I guess we only had like
We
half
found
an
out the
episode.
results of his star stuff and then stole some stuff from a fish.
Yes. Oh, and then Urtica decided to also drink / consume /
Drink.
submerge
It's more of a
herself
dunk.
partially in the.
Yeah, it was a dunk. It was like a,
That
a
feel when-
partial dunk.
That feel when you drink the galaxy.
Well, neither of you did sort of try that, I guess, but
I certainly don't think I will be doing any more galaxy dunking currently.
What was the American political reference? I did smoke the drugs, but I did not inhale.
But did not inhale.
I don't know that.
That's
reference,
a
but-
Bill Clinton reference
Oh, okay. Yeah.
for
that's
all those
perfect.
'90s kids.
Yeah.
So that's the last thing that happened, I think, was Urtica stuck her head in the star stuff and had like a half journey through the cosmos because only her head was in the cosmos. The rest of her body was still in normal space. So it was a bit like wonky. She took her head out of the star stuff, and I think Etienne said something like, "Oh, for fuck's sake," because Urtica.
Yeah,
he
that
noticed
sounds
Urtica had
correct.
taken her.
Yep, this is correct.
Yeah.
And then
So
reality fragmented.
and the great thing is, I should say, everyone look at your gear, look over your character sheet,
Okay.
peril condition tracks, all that stuff. We should do a recap of like your status if you want to sort of think about, you know, who's injured and who's
I'm
not.
at ignore 1 skill rank level peril
Yes.
condition.
Oh, and the cliffhanger for last time was something is coming.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, that was the
Right,
consequence
yes.
of Elora being submerged. Is that she perceived that something perceived her, and that thing that she perceived is on its way.
Indeed. But is it on its way now? Is it on its way in the future? Who knows? It's
Well,
very-
Urtica put her head in the stuff and did not perceive something perceiving her. So presumably that means that the thing that was out there is now on its way. So
Yeah, but how fast and from how far, Butt Prince? You know, like that's the.
you know, it's the question of the speed of light, I suppose, is like, you know, relative.
Oh
and
no! Okay.
time and space are,
Descendants will receive this thing in 1,000 years' time.
Yeah, that's basically. Oh, and Sam Sudu, the fishing fish lady, she turned to stone after Etienne threatened her with a big axe. And
Yeah,
sort of
she's
said, "You can't
she
lie."
is
So
currently a statue.
yeah, so she turned to stone. So
It's clearly a fish defense mechanism.
yes. So what else? What else? Oh, fortune points. There's. I'm going to refresh the pool because you didn't actually use any. That doesn't matter, but you have 4 fortune points because there's 3 of you and you get 1 plus. And do you all remember what those do, or should I recap that?
They allow us to re-roll, right? A failed skill check that isn't a critical fail.
That's one. Yeah, yeah.
They allow us to do extra damage on an attack.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
And I think
and you can turn
Survive.
turn a fury or chaos dice to a 6, or is
Yes,
that the
that's
extra
that's
damage?
the extra
yeah,
damage.
that's the
Basically,
Okay,
extra
that is
damage.
sick.
Yeah.
there's other cases where it's whenever you roll a d6, you spend a fortune point, you can make it count as a 6. So that's
Yeah.
extra damage or extra like good stuff or potentially bad stuff. I don't know why you would want to intentionally fail.
Yeah, exploding dice on failed magic checks.
The third things, we can get an extra action point in combat, right?
Yes, on your turn you can get an extra action point.
Mhm,
So yeah, that's the main thing. I want to go over this because it might become relevant, And also, when you use them, I get to use them. I get a misfortune point, which I
yes.
can use for any of those 3 things, and that's sort of going to be up to me to decide how mean of a GM I'm going to be, because I could literally, sort of murder someone if I hit them in combat. I'm going to spend my misfortune points and kill you. So I'll see, how that feels, because I'm not personally not sure how like.
It is up to you.
Yeah, because it's a d6 counting as a 6 it's a lot of damage. Like you can really kill someone like pretty easily with more than 1 fortune point.
Yeah, because
So
you
we'll
get
see.
to. I guess that means you get to do 6 damage from that roll, and then you get to roll another dice
Yes,
because
it counts as
it
a
means it
6. So you get
explodes.
to
Yup.
roll it. So it's a very powerful use of those points. So
Unless you're
Anyway.
attacking Ink's character, Urtica, who is functionally immortal.
yeah, functionally immortal, like a lobster. So now that we've gotten all that out of the way and we've done a little recap, I think we'll just jump right into
Yeah,
where we
yeah.
left off. So Etienne, you said, "Oh, for
Yes.
fuck's sake!" I
As
think-
Etienne turned around, realized that Ertiga had also stuck her head in the drugs, and expletives ensued.
So exactly at that point, and this is the amazing thing about technological difficulties, is that it pretty much made a cliffhanger before the cliffhanger had a chance to happen, because something was about to happen. And right as you say, "Oh, for fuck's sake," the room grows dark.
Oh.
And this is due to the fact that the only source of light, which is the skylight, as I described before, this is like an observatory style building. The top roof is open to the sky, and there's a lot of stars. But there's a shape has landed on top of this skylight, and it has sort of butterfly-like wings, I would say, to an outside observer. To you, I'm not sure if you've seen a butterfly in the setting or whatever, but to the audience, it's a butterfly. Large wings have sort of obscured the top of this dome, right?
That's a
So
big butterfly.
Yeah, you can imagine these long wings that are sort of like fishtails almost. The goldfish have these long,
Right.
undulating like
Mhm.
tails, right? But they're in the shape of a 4-pointed star kind of thing. And this is casting this large shadow over the center of the room, like there, right? So you just imagine there's this big old butterfly shadow and the shadow is dancing slightly as these wings are undulating as if they're fish tails underwater, right? But that's what happens. So there's this is exactly as you say, "Oh, for fuck's sake," you hear sort of a landing sound. You don't know what it is. It's this large, strange butterfly has started to obscure the room, and this allows you to sort of see the star stuff jars. So they become brighter because there's less ambient light, so you can sort of still see and maybe perceive.
Yeah, because
the
before they
stars
looked
more.
kind of empty, didn't they?
Yeah,
well,
well,
not
they looked
empty,
like
but-
they looked like this night sky, but there was stars in them and stuff, nebula and stuff.
Right. Okay.
But now, because the main source of light is obscured by this strange butterfly, the jars themselves have become more of the light source in the room, as it were. So that's what happens. What do you do?
I think the first thing that Elora does is ask, "Is there everybody else is seeing this, right? This isn't just me?"
No, it's there.
I am seeing the butterfly.
Well, the correlation of something coming our way that I saw in the star stuff, and the arrival of this, whatever it is, could
Urtica just straight up
Could-
addresses the butterfly.
What was that?
Urtica just straight up addresses the butterfly with, "Hello, are you able to understand us?"
So your words sort of echo out because it's quite a large structure. Not sure of the scale exactly, but it's quite tall. It's a tall kind of building, right? This is 2 stories high, I suppose, and the dome itself is probably 3 stories high. So I assume you're sort of shouting this out, right? And your words bounce, through the empty space, and I think you just hear a tapping on the window, like the glass of this dome, which I think has sort of struts to keep it steady, like it's structurally it's got sort of beams to keep it up, right? So you just hear a tap, like the only answer you get is silence, and then sort of a tapping on the window, like a clink, 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 clink. Nothing
Is that
else.
a tap of acknowledgement, or I'm just tapping because I'm a creature?
Why don't you make a scrutinize test? Because I think that's kind of
the
the
distinction.
intent
The
behind,
distinction,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, okay. So you rolled a 5 and your rating is 48. So that's a very good roll. It's not
It's
not a critical
It's pretty good.
roll. Yeah, I mean it's not a crit, but it's enough to know that this tapping is, it's. I think it's. I wouldn't say frustrated, but it seems to want to enter the structure you're in, and that's the tapping is more of a nervous kind of like waiting motion, kind of like you're tapping your finger on the window of a car or something.
Etienne looks at the other two and kind of gestures to the stairs. Do we want to try and talk to the giant galaxy butterfly, or
If you want
Or do
to
we
get more
not?
information about it, I guess I could let you roll an awareness test, because right now it's sort of silhouetted against the starlight.
I
right?
would
So you
be
can't
happy.
really
I would
make
be
out
happy
what
to
it does.
roll an awareness test, but I know
Okay.
that when I fail perception, something happens because of the star stuff, right?
Oh, so that is, if you fail, you'll critically fail, which means that you'll take stress basically,
Oh, good.
and that's on perception, brawn, because you got 3 doses of the stuff. It's like perception, brawn, and I think willpower. I
Yeah,
actually should check the rules exactly.
I
what
think
they
that's
say.
what you said. Yeah, if I remember correctly.
I would offer to roll instead, but my awareness is terrible.
I
And keep
don't.
in mind, you
I don't
can
actually
help
have-
each other.
I don't actually.
well.
I don't actually have awareness. So I just want to roll.
Oh, I just mean my perception is at -1, so my perception is 3. Like,
Oh,
bonus.
yeah, I have 5. So
yeah. But I could assist you. I could kind of like, Etienne could like walk over and kind of like, more centrally into the room, and kind of like, because, Etienne's the most, at least in his mind, clear-headed currently because he hasn't taken the drugs.
Okay, so as soon as you move,
Uh-oh.
I
That was
think
maybe a bad idea.
a light starts shining in the room from this thing. And let me just draw a shape. Let's see, circle. And we'll make it.
I have a feeling I know what this thing looks like just because I've seen Bud Prince's Twitter. But that's
So this, you sort of move and you get out there, and then the light shines where you were. So this thing there, that's the.
Yeah.
We'll just delete the other one. That's like the spotlight of this thing, right? And it's shining. It looks exactly like starlight, like the starlight that's being obscured by this thing is now being filtered through this eye thing. But go ahead if you want to finish the action. Basically, that happens. This is sort of as you're doing your thing, right?
Well, yeah. What I was going to do was walk over, like look directly up at the skylight, and start like describing what I see to Alora, so she can make her like awareness roll to try and figure out if she, knows anything about this creature, with my help.
I may know things Theoretically, probably not though. I don't have any focuses, so.
Well, I
don't
think
know.
because the help action provides a benefit, but like, I think it's up to Butt Prince to say if my like narrative help is acceptable for
Well,
me to give you the help
the only
action.
thing you really need is do you have the skill that you're rolling? If you have awareness,
Oh, do you need the skill to
you
do the
need the
help
skill to
action?
be able to help. So
Oh,
if
okay.
unless you
Okay,
don't,
no, I don't. Never mind then.
if you don't, then you can't help basically. But you
Alas.
still,
Okay,
I'm gonna
I
not,
narratively help, but do not mechanically help.
yeah, you're not actually helping, but you do have to narrate what you're doing to help as well. So you did
Yeah.
you did it correctly, but you don't have
Alright.
the actual.
I
skill.
am
Yeah,
gonna.
for some reason I thought I needed the skill if it was a like one of the ones with the asterisk, but if you just need it straight up, that's fine.
I am gonna roll awareness. Here we go. Hey!
Nice.
So that's a critical success.
Critical
it's a 1.
success.
Your rolls are either critical fails or critical successes. I think.
Alora
So
has
I can just go ahead and.
Alora has
and-
a brief insight into what this may be about. Yeah.
How do I show to players? That's weird. Edit.
If you right click on a token, you should be able to show it to players. Or like
Oh, it's a handout. So
Oh,
I don't-
so if you
well,
go-
I guess I can just.
So if you go to
I
the
can just use
handout, there
token.
should be a button that just says show to players, like on it when you open it up. If you open it up, there should be a button.
I'm only seeing edit, so I don't know. Maybe I just
let
suck at
me-
this.
Let me see.
I made a weird handout that doesn't actually.
No, I love it, but I can't like it's so hard for me to describe stuff on Roll20 rather than like just do it. My brain.
I'll just use the
knows-
token because.
I mean, if you have a handout, I don't know.
Well, no, the handout is the token is the handout is the token. Like
Oh,
the
it's
main
just
thing is
it's just
just
the
to-
image, yeah. Yeah, this is what I thought it was.
Oh god.
But the token is probably out of.
When you
mode
started
for-
describing butterfly star thing, I was like, I saw that on Bud Prince's Twitter like a week ago.
So that's what the
I
thing
have
looks like
fear.
basically. It's got that, you see that head there. That's where the light's coming out of, like the eye kind of shape at the top there.
Is it?
And it's got these big butterfly wings. The wings are much bigger in the reality of the game. This is just artistic rendering. I couldn't fit them in there.
And so it is like that big as well, like.
No, it's much smaller.
Okay.
I think it's like not person-sized actually, but the wings are quite massive, and there's
okay.
a lot of
Alright.
side. Like the shadow is obviously magnified because it's like
Above
at the top of this,
yeah.
and it's like it's basically being spotlighted down over you. So there's like a lot. It seems larger than it is, kind of thing, right? But that's what it looks like, and that's also the token I'm going to use for it. So I'm just going to shrink this down. So that's what it's. So it's around there, basically, like except above you by 3 stories of building.
Okay.
And you can tell that it's standing on the roof quadrupedally, I guess. It's like, kind of crouch on there, and it's tapping with one of these long arms that it has. That's what making that noise on the glass. It's tapping, tapping, tapping. And that's what it looks like. Yeah. So I don't don't know if I need to describe it, but that's what it is. It's like a large insectile humanoid with butterfly fish tail wings.
Tapered butterfly wings, yeah.
Yeah, and those are dancing and casting shadow.
Is there anything else that I might be aware of about it? I'm not sure what a critical awareness test really does.
So I'll give you some more information. The star stuff surrounding you, the stars in the star stuff, the stars are going out, sort of blinking out of existence, and you experience this in the star stuff itself when you were in there. But now it's happening to all the jars, and it's sort of at a rate that seems to be steadily increasing, right?
Okay.
Do you have any other actions?
I guess that the thing for me, like, do I have any sense of whether or not I should be running away from this thing or not, Butt Prince?
I can't tell you what you like. I don't like. I described it as it is. This is what's happening.
All right.
If your character, like, you might want to run away, you're not being subjected to stress, fear, or terror, which is a mechanic in the game, which will occur, and I will very much tell you that's what's happening. You'll roll a resolve test against stress, fear, or terror. but that's not happening. You're not supernaturally or like unnaturally perturbed by this. This is just something that's landed on the roof of the
Sure.
building you're in.
Got it. Yeah.
Can we assume that Alora has never read a book that had an illustration looking like that in it ever?
So I would make you roll a folklore test.
I
think,
can
or-
definitely do that.
Yeah, and this is minus 30 because I don't think the. I mean, there's a chance, but I
I mean,
won't
I'm
give it to
willing.
you.
Look, I'm willing to go on a chance. That's cool by me.
Yeah. So yeah, in the situational modifier, put minus 30 and
Yeah.
roll your folklore test because that's the one that should. Okay. No.
I do not. I do not know about it.
Yeah. I have absolutely no idea. That's a 91, and your rating was 20 for that, by the way, because you're at -1. You don't have a skill rank because you're stressed, and it's minus 30. It's like a difficulty of 30. So,
Mm-hmm.
oh, hang on. Now,
That's correct.
I don't know how. No, because the maximum you can get minus is minus 30. So I'm not sure if it's doing the math correctly.
It
I
doesn't
think it is
matter.
because it says intelligence 50.
Yeah.
and-
And folklore is
Okay.
zero, which would be folklore 1.
Okay, because the maximum you can get for actually, never mind. I'm getting it backwards anyway because I'm setting a difficulty rating. The minus 30 is from the difficulty rating, not from the base chance.
Yeah,
So,
correct. Yeah.
so it's doing the math correctly. So yeah, you fail. You have no idea what this is. It has maybe a slight like this feels like it might be an eye that was following you in the star stuff, and the star stuff is going out as well. So. There's
Okay.
obviously a link to this, and as you're standing there,
I mean, I
the-
think Alora says like it's
the
the
light is
it's the-
slowly drifting towards you. you
it's
know.
it's the
Towards
thing.
me.
Well, yeah, all of you.
Okay.
It obviously noticed movement, and then it turned on its light, and now
Yeah.
it's
I'm gonna take.
patrolling around.
I think I'm gonna take the stairs. But
Mm-hmm.
Prince, I'm gonna go up towards it. With like not towards it like outside, but like it's on the other side of glass. So
So to be clear, this is the up part of the stairs. over
yeah.
here?
So I actually think Alora just like hoofs it. She's pretty quick. Like suddenly realizes something and then just like runs.
What is your movement rating?
My movement rating is, I believe it's 4. Let me check though. 5.
Okay, so yeah, let's roll initiative. Actually, why don't we do this in? It's not combat. I'm gotta stress that you're not under immediate threat of like fighting stuff. But I think maybe a turn-based kind of
Flow.
it's a turn-based situation because
Sure.
there's a light chasing you essentially. It's not a chase scene either, which is another set of rules. But there's a kind of a stress here. So
Okie
So for initiative, do we just roll? Is there a button for rolling initiative, or do we just roll our 3 plus PB?
there is no button, I'm afraid.
Okay, cool.
So you just have to roll whatever your initiative rating is. Add that to a D10.
Plus a D10. Okay.
Initiative rating. I gotta find it again. I don't remember what initiative rating is based on, friends.
It's underneath.
on-
It's underneath all your main stats in the middle, beside movement and encumbrance limit,
Oh, right. Yes.
Yeah. and then it's just that number plus 1d10.
Okay. Yeah.
Nice.
17.
Oh, you've done. I filled out Etienne's.
Oh,
Yeah, thank
so,
you.
I got it.
How do I get these in order? Okay. let's do
So there's a
there.
descending button, yeah.
Okay, well I just did it manually because I'm.
there's a
Unbelievable.
there's a button on it that you can click to put them in descending order. But if
So
you
that
already got them,
so we'll call that your
yeah,
so
that's
you,
sort of- that's my action. I run across the room basically towards.
so
the
yeah,
stairs.
you can move 3 times if you're just sprinting basically for 3 action points. You can move 3 times your movement, which is 5, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's 10 squares. So you can actually get up the stairs like by 5 more, I think.
Yeah. So
If,
1,
well,
2,
what is called
3,
yeah, what is called that?
4, 5, like that.
So and then it's immediately this thing's turn.
So Alora's just taking the stairs like 2 at a time. Yeah.
Yeah, so it basically sort of notices you, I think, move by in its peripheral vision. And it's just gonna slowly move the old can I cue a drawing? No, you can't do the measuring with the drawing.
Mm-hmm.
I have to
You
turn
can
it
turn it
into
into a token.
I'll just count for now. 1, 2, 3. It sort of goes there. So that's its turn on this little thingy thing. And now it's Urtica's turn. So Urtica, what do you do? And this is sort of free form, so like you're sort of more free to like narrate, like talking and stuff, but it's still your turn essentially.
Is there a way of sensibly climbing, or is the stairs just vastly superior as an option?
So the sides of the walls are like basically walls that you would, you know, an interior wall of something. So there's not a lot of handholds. There's not like stuff to climb on, and there's also you'd have to climb up and then like basically carry like there's ledges right over these vats I described, because once you go up the stairs you essentially arrive at a walkway all around it over the thing, so you'd have to like climb up the wall then climb along the bottom of the walkway kind of thing. So it would be extremely difficult, I'd say, but maybe
How
not
high up is the
impossible.
walkway?
So how tall is a building? Like a story of a building, right? I'd say maybe we'll call it like I don't know. I don't know yards. That's annoying. Like everything's in yards in this
Do
game.
any of us know yards?
No.
Yeah,
A
like-
story is around 14 feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which
and
is
how many
like,
feet
which
in
is
a
like,
yard?
which is like
3?
slightly more than two tall people stacked on top of each other.
So we'll call it 10 yards up basically. So like 10 squares of movement.
Oh, is this game in yards of movement?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well,
Oh,
each
God.
square is 1 yard. So we'll say
I need
like
to learn what yards are now.
it's 3 feet, I think. I mean, honestly,
Okay,
it doesn't matter as
simplified.
much as the actual raw numbers of what your move speed is
Yeah.
versus how many squares you're moving. So we'll just call it 10 squares, like up. I don't know if that's exceedingly high, but this is like a big observatory.
I mean,
kind of
you said it's
weird
a
building.
two-story building, so that sounds
Yeah,
about right.
yeah,
If
yeah.
yeah, because there's a dome on top of it as well.
So it would take you a long time if you can climb it. It would
I mean,
take
is
you
Urtica
even
tall
longer.
enough to just reach up to the the story above and pull herself up?
So how many feet tall are you?
I mean, at least 9 feet tall.
Yeah.
So if it's 10 yards up and then a yard is 3 feet ish, right?
Ah, okay.
It's
I
a
don't think
little.
you
It's
can.
a little too
It's a little
tall.
higher than you,
I
yeah.
go for the stairs.
If I remember correctly,
I move
Urtica
it.
isn't the fastest mover, is she?
I believe she has 4 movement, so 4 times 3 is your movement in squares. Is
Ink, did we lose you? Okay.
oh, there we go. Okay,
Oh, yeah. I wasn't sure.
I
if
just
that
couldn't
was
see it. So I assume you go around the lights, the circle of light.
I just
Is
go
that there?
straight through the circle of light.
Okay,
Does
so
anything
when you do that, it locks onto you, and you are now obviously being pursued, like perceived by this thing.
Oh no, Urtica has never played video games before.
She just turns her head upwards to look back at the creature.
Okay, can Etienne and Elora make me a observation, awareness test, please?
Okay.
Any modifiers?
No, it's just standard.
Boom! Another critical success.
Wow.
So as like you know you're basically watching Urtica walk or run, I should say. She sprints. This is because that's 3 times her movement. So she's like huffing it over there, right?
Mhm.
And you notice as she walks through, like as soon as she walks through this light, her bone white mask begins to glow in a bluish purple light. Sort of, it looks like there's a pattern on it or some kind of marking that wasn't visible before. And as the light, this is as soon because you're watching her, as soon as she walks through it, like it starts to glow, and now
Mm.
you can clearly see it happening, like as the light is hitting her. That is what's causing this mask to now respond in kind and sort of started to glow as well. And Urtica, obviously, you can't tell this is happening because you're wearing the mask. And Etienne, you're sort of oblivious to this.
Yeah. Oh, it kind of makes sense because I guess Urtica is like facing that way, and like she's behind the stairwell, so I probably can't see it as well.
So, Etienne, I'm going to give you a turn as well. So, do you do
Yes.
anything?
Yes, I'm going to also like seeing the other two sprint. I'm also going to sprint. I have a movement of 8,
Wow.
so I can move 24 in total. So I'm going to. Can we use diagonals in this game? I assume there's no. Like,
Yeah,
rule about-
I don't
okay.
think there's a rule against using diagonals, so I'm just going to let you do that.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay, that's 20, and I'm at the top of the stairs.
Okay,
What's at
so
the top of
you're-
the stairs?
Top of the stairs is, as I described, just a walkway, and those 4 like things on the side of the building,
Yeah.
those are balconies. So you sort of get past, and there's probably a door to the balcony,
Mhm.
right where you were standing, basically, like here.
Yeah.
There's a doorway to go out into that space outside, and other than that, it seems to just be a walkway that sort of leads out to these like overview spots, right?
Okay, so there's no like direct way onto the actual roof itself where the butterfly is?
Not that you can tell from outside. You might be able to, if you went outside, you might be able
Yeah.
to tell if there's
that
like
case,
a ladder or something to go up. But
I will go out the balcony door. Shoop.
okay, so
and
you are
look
standing
around.
out. I can't remember what the weather. It's warm and dry and crisp or whatever, right?
It
Whatever
is.
the
It
weather
is.
said.
It
It's
was
not
warm,
a relevant
warm
weather
and
condition.
sunny.
Yeah, except it's the middle of the night, so I guess
Yes.
it's like
Mhm.
it's like it's a summer
Clear,
night kind of feel,
yeah.
and that hits you as you leave. And as you leave, I think it's the end of the initiative order, and we can sort of pause it for now. You hear knocking at the door, way back down where you came in, and that's all you hear is a knocking at the door.
Is the butterfly still on the roof?
The butterfly is now still on the dome, and it's very clearly fixed on Urtica. Like it hasn't done anything else. In fact, it stops doing anything else unless you have any actions. Like I think we can sort of leave combat turn order for the moment,
Okay.
and we'll resume. But you heard her knocking at the
I
door.
think-
The butterfly is looking at Urtica.
I think Alora was like gunning it up the stairs to try and get the thing's attention, but when she turns and sees Urtica in the light and the like mask glowing and something happening, she like stops. She sort of stops in her tracks on the stairs, and turns and says to Urtica like, your mask in the light. There's something. It's glowing.
She like moves her head as if she's trying to look at herself from third person. but
Yeah.
is unable to see her in face.
And then I guess there's the knock on the door.
Yep. It's a polite knock. It sounds like someone just rap.
Okay. I guess I'll go check it out. Let's go check it out. Why not?
So you're gonna go back down the stairs towards the door.
I will go back down the stairs towards the
Okay.
door. Yes.
This is a
Um,
very stoned person thing to do. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, there's a giant butterfly. Oh, the door rang. We have to go get the door.
yeah.
Find pizza.
Yeah, she's a little confused. But also like the butterfly is looking at Urtica and it doesn't seem to be doing anything like malicious or like there's no negative effect that she can see immediately. So
Yeah, nothing has happened yet as far as like that is concerned.
so she's gonna go to the door and open the door.
Okay, so you get to the. I guess we'll just move yourself to the front door then.
Sure, yeah. There we go.
So you open the door, yes?
I do. Well, only a little
Is
bit.
that So there's a fish person standing out there, and she looks surprised to see you. Like, oh,
Hi there.
hello.
Are you looking for Sam Studio?
Yes. How did you know?
Because I took a dunk in the star stuff, and Samsudu was helping me out.
Oh, Samsuru! The fish, another fish lady calls out to Samsuru. Obviously, there's no reply as Samsuru is currently made of stone.
uh, she, Laura like looks back into the room, takes a moment, pause, and then says, "I think Samsudu is she."
Yeah, they're both are fish
Okay.
ladies, so she.
I think she's busy at the moment, or resting, or
Oh.
something.
Resting.
I'm still sorry. I'm still a little out of focus from the the stuff.
So why don't you make me a guile test? Because you're very, 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 very lying, and you said something that would raise suspicion.
Let me see. Okay. Here we go.
So
Laura is the worst liar ever.
yeah, and I mean, normally I would make a scrutinized test to resist that. So why don't I do that?
Okay.
Nervous babbling and sweating.
So yeah, oh, actually, I should check the stats of this fish person.
He's not the most gullible fish in the world.
I think this is raises. She's not immediately like, oh, something's weird. Like she's not, figured out that you've stolen from Samsudo and threatened her and made her turn to stone. But she's like trying to get a look inside. Like her big fish head is sort of trying to like push you back to get closer into like the room. Basically, she's trying
course.
to enter the room now.
I feel like Laura's just gonna be like, "Have you seen the thing on the roof?
The thing? No.
There's
What?
like a butterfly person. You should. It's like
Samsuru, Samsuru, and as this fish person is calling out and making all this racket, the butterfly stops looking at Ertica. So like the light. Oh, I can't move the light and the.
yeah.
Well, the light moves over, and the butterfly starts flying up. It's flying away.
Oh.
So just imagine that it's off, somewhere. I don't want to delete the token, but I
Sure,
guess I can just change the
You can
layer
move it to the other
GM
layer, yeah.
there,
Okay.
and the light has disappeared. So the fish person's making noise like Samsuru, and the butterfly is flown away. Do you do anything else, Elora, or anyone else? Actually, at this point, I think I should give everyone else a chance
Yeah.
to.
I think like maybe Etienne like sees the butterfly like lift off from the roof and start to fly away.
Yes,
Uh,
sure. Well, yeah.
Sticks his head back through the door and goes, "What happened?" And then just kind of like looks down at Ertica and Elora, like leaning over the top of the stairs.
And Ertica, do you do anything? I think I'll just give you each like an action.
Presumably,
basically.
like Etienne heard the Samsudu.
Yeah.
Oh yes, yes.
All that.
But
all
I
that,
mean, he was outside, so
Yeah, you would have heard it sort of slightly more distantly because you were outside, but you did hear someone calling Samsudu, a fish voice you've never heard.
definitely, yeah.
And yeah, and
I think he was just much more focused on the butterfly situation, and it's going to take him a minute or a moment to realize, oh wait, there's another thing going on now.
So I think you Etienne, you probably see that it's flown sort of towards the noise, and it flew up and then towards.
Oh, okay. So it's like it's not flying away; it's flying over here.
Yeah, the
Like
attention
over
was
and
gained
down.
of
Yeah.
the flying thing. So
Okay.
that's what's currently happened.
Well, in that case, I think Etienne will call out to Elora. I think the visitor there might have attracted its attention.
If you could just please quiet. Laura's like trying to negotiate with this agitated fish person.
So I think there's going to be an opposed roll for like the fish person trying to break into the room. Kind of
Okay.
thing.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what. I guess make it a.
Brawn test?
Oh no, you can't just test the thing. It would be like toughness versus something, right?
Toughness,
So
right, of course.
yeah, I think you can like if you're resistant, you can either resist with like guile and like try to make something up.
I mean, I
Uh,
definitely already failed doing that, so
Yeah, yeah.
like, I actually don't think Alora is particularly adept at blocking doorways. Um, so
That's an Urtica job.
yeah, I definitely think like under pressure, she'd probably just like back up.
So you just let the fish person enter.
I think so.
Okay, so yeah, I'll just move the fish person into the room. Like she gets about here. I guess you step aside. I'll move you too. Right?
Yeah.
So she's now like there, and she immediately sees Samsudu is turned to stone, and this seems rather distressing to her.
Urtica just continues staring up at the like glass dome where
Okay.
the butterfly was, kind of like almost in contemplation, and then a few moments later, kind of her gaze drops to the door, and then she starts walking towards the door, just impassively.
Okay, I'll give you four squares of movement, basically. Like if you're just walking, that's just your movement, and we'll sort of move the initiative tracker down. So the fish person, this fish lady who's now inside, clearly she smells something fishy, right? Pardon the pun. And she's like, "Oh, what have you done to Samsuru? Why is she made of stone?"
Etienne calls out from the balcony or from the top of the stairs. Wait, that's not normal?
"Well, it's a clearly she's under great duress." And the fish person moves up to Samsuru to examine her, and she's clearly like checking for like, you know, is she okay kind of thing, right? So she's sort of examining her, and she's explaining this. It's when we're threatened. What have you done?
Alora's confused because this all happened while she was still like regaining consciousness.
Right. I think Etienne like looks to Urtica to like, you know, how should I play this? Should I like lie, or I don't know if Urtica like receives that like glance and responds,
Urtica
or
is just like completely ignoring the fish person, walking towards the door, just like
okay.
implacable Terminator walk.
And I'll give you another 4 squares of movement.
No, I think
No.
in that case. Oh, sorry, you go about Prince.
Well, I was going to ask if you do anything else, Etienne. Otherwise,
Yes, I think in that case, with like no one to play off, Etienne probably does the worst possible thing and tries to like deepen the lie. So I'd like to make it, and says, "What she saw that giant butterfly thing, and then just turned to stone. We kind of figured it was normal."
okay, roll me a guile test.
Yes, I do have guile.
With
so-
the plus 10, because you're using, you know, it's a plausible lie, right? You're saying,
Uh-huh.
oh, there's this butterfly thing, and she might have seen this, and it's sort of like it's an easier lie to tell when you use the actual fact, the truth, the glimmer of truth. So that's a success.
Oh, okay, yeah, it is.
43 under 61, so that's you've succeeded at
Yeah, I have a
deceiving
rank
this
in
fish
guile,
person.
so
So this extra fish person who's as of yet unintroduced, so you don't know her name, but she says, "Oh, butterfly, Samsudu," and she's sort of like passing her hand over Samsudu's like eyes in stone form, right? Clearly doing something.
maybe before you try and wake her up or whatever, we should deal with the butterfly thing that scared her in the first place. Otherwise, you know, she might just turn to stone again, and then you'd have to spend even more time doing whatever it is you're doing.
What is this butterfly? Some kind of fly that attacked Samsudu?
Well, did you not see it?
No.
Kind of points up at the dome where there is now nothing.
About
nothing
to
there.
see it.
So I'm gonna give Elora. Do you have anything you're doing while you're standing next to the door?
I'm kind of just like hoping that Etienne's lie works out. I'm just standing.
Oh God.
So yeah, basically she's trying to wake up Samsudu is the impression you get, and she asked you about this butterfly. So if you have any additional things to say to her, otherwise something's gonna happen basically.
No, no, go move. Feel free to, for me at least, move the.
Yeah, I don't think Etienne has anything more that he can like add. Like the butterfly, it was there, but it's no longer there, and he can't really describe it any better than Like I guess Etienne like describes the butterfly as best he can. Kind of. It was kind of down on all fours, and it had these four wings that kind of looked like fishtails, and then it flew off when you started calling Samsudu's name.
Okay, so this new fish person sort of blinks, big fishy blinks. The
Oh, and a big light started coming out of its eye. It had one big eye.
she has absolutely no idea like anything about this butterfly.
Yeah.
So she just sort of looks at you like, oh, and she stopped trying to wake up Samsudu because now she's listening to you describe this butterfly and like trying to figure out what it is. And after that, Erdika, I'm going to give you. Do you keep moving towards the door, or do you change your course of action?
I keep moving towards the door.
Okay, I'll give you 4 more squares because that's your movement. And as soon as you get there, that's when the old butterfly lands
Oh
in
no.
front of the door, which is still open. Elora did not close the door.
That's
Fine.
true. I didn't.
Yeah.
Oh God.
So there's this thing you can see now, much clearer because it's not being backlit, right? You can clearly see what it looks like now, Erdika. And I think you're the only one that can actually see it at this point because the door is sort of, in the way. Elora's around the corner of the door.
She
And I think
continues
the
to
light
walk
shines
towards it
on
as
you.
if entranced by the light.
Okay. Why don't you make me a resolve test, actually?
Resolve test. Good.
Mhm.
And yes, the light is shining on you now. So you are forced to move towards it. In fact, you don't have a choice. Even though you describe yourself as being entranced, you are literally entranced by this thing. It is calling to you on some deep level, and you are compelled to move towards it. So you move your 4 squares, which should basically put you in the doorway. Now, Elora, you see that the light is shining on Erdika now. So you're probably aware that the thing is out there. You didn't hear it landing, but you do see her mask is glowing purplish blue, bluish purple, and there's clearly a spotlight like hitting her, right? So you're aware of what's happening essentially.
Erdika, I don't think you should go out there. It seems, and I'm gonna try and get in front of Erdika and like block the way.
So why don't you make me a athletics test
Okay.
versus Erdika's. Erdika, you can resist with toughness. So I need you both to roll. And
41.
This is just a flat roll. So that's a success. Now Erdika needs to succeed as well. Critical failure. So you essentially have blocked the doorway in some way. So Erdika, you can move back a square, and Elora, now you're standing in front of her.
Okay, like this.
Which means the creature now sees you.
Oh God!
I would like you to make a resolve test.
Oh
please.
God damn it!
And these resolve tests are critical fails if they fail, right?
I forgot to look that up. I'm pretty sure that. Let me look.
Because my willpower has a +10, but
Yes.
also I have no resolve skill because.
Yeah, I can't remember which of the. I know it's 3 of them, and it's in a weird place, and I forgot to check again where. Oh, that's the making of them. How to make them. That's maybe.
Okay. I'm gonna do a +10 situational modifier because my willpower is higher. I assume.
Okay, so yeah, here we are. Perception-based ones, willpower-based, and brawn-based. So those are the ones that critically fail if you fail them.
Okay, here we go. I fail.
So I would like to take the opportunity here to remind you of fortune
I have
points.
fortune points.
Wait, you can't
It's-
re-roll.
oh,
a crit
because
fail.
it counts as a critical
It
failure.
counts as
You're
a critical
right. That's
failure.
a funny
I
interaction. Yes.
I can't reroll it.
So yeah, I think that just means you are essentially forced to spend
You
your
just-
movement to move towards the creature.
I
Well,
So
would end up in the melee with it within.
yeah, you're engaged. You
a
stand right in front of
second.
it, basically, as
Yeah.
close as you
Join
can get
hands and
without
walk into the
standing.
light.
Oh no.
Okay.
So now that you're in front of it, it speaks.
Oh, okay.
It
Am I
says,
also walking forward?
well, no, you were blocked. So I think you can choose if you feel like you would keep moving, but I think the success that Elora had at stopping you sort of snapped you out of it momentarily. So you've got a chance to do other stuff if you want to do something else besides moving towards it.
Without the supernatural entrancement, because instinct is to move towards them.
Okay.
I mean, whether
Etienne-
to hit it or not. Yeah.
Yeah. So Etienne, I'm going to give you like an action as well.
Yes,
Just so
can I
that you're
move,
not
please?
stuck. Just so you know,
Run,
I don't know.
Etienne.
So do I just get one action, or can I use my full turn?
I'll give you like
to
a
sprint?
turn, so you
Yeah.
can sprint.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll say
Sprint.
this is
Okay,
a turn.
so
basically.
another 24 movement.
You can also, if you feel like jumping off the roof of the thing to get down.
Oh
quicker,
yeah, that sounds
no,
like a
it's
great
not like
way to
that.
break your legs.
Yeah, no, Etienne knows not to jump into or off large things. The oubliette taught him that.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. That's as far as I can get with my movement.
And the fish person, you were in the middle of describing these things, and suddenly the fish person is just very confused. Like she's like, "What's going on?" Like you were talking to her, now you're running down the stairs. Everyone's leaving.
As Etienne's running, he kind of points to the doorway and says, "That thing."
So yeah, Urtica, you're gonna move towards it at this point.
So she takes 3 squares to move towards it, and then I guess kind of slightly bends down onto one knee in front of the thing.
Okay, it's taller. It's probably about your height, right?
Okay.
It's taller than most like people, but it's
Looming over.
yeah, it's tall.
Alora,
Yes.
for sure.
pulls level with it, and then like the slightly head slightly cants, like rotates a little bit as you like stares into its eye.
Okay, so I'm not gonna like you won't count as prone or anything. You're just sort of kneeling, so it's not gonna be like a mechanical factor. I'd say that the fact that you kneel before this thing, right?
If it's the same height as Attica, she won't kneel down.
Oh,
She'll
okay,
just,
okay.
kind of.
And it's well, I described it as taller, but it's taller because it has this long neck, right? Like if you
Mhm.
imagine the base of it is sort of person size, but then it has this extra height from the eyes. And by the way, its wings have sort of folded back like a kind of a cape robe almost. And it speaks. It says, and this is as Elora approaches it. It says, "The ancient wordless night."
The ancient wordless night.
Night. That's the first line of its dialogue.
I like Elora is entranced, right? So
The only effect of that is forced movement. So
okay.
all you had to do
so
was
she's
move
still
towards it.
she's still like conscious.
Yeah, you're perfectly aware of everything else. Like you're not like ensorcellated. You're sort of just you were drawn towards it magically, almost like you had to walk towards it. But that's it.
I think she looks at the thing and like meets its gaze, quote unquote, and says, "Yeah, I think I saw it."
It responds, "You will never know the truth."
Why not?
You are not of this world.
But I'm here. I'm
The ancient wordless night. You will never know the truth. You are not of this world. And it repeats this basically several times as long as you're standing there.
Yeah.
So I'll give you all again. Actually, Etienne, you should make a resolve test,
Okay.
and I'll make one for the fish person as well.
Any modifiers?
No modifiers. It's a simple like 0 base.
Nope.
So you are forced to move towards it. And that's just a walk move basically. So whatever you're
Yeah.
whatever
I've
you're
got
moving,
8, so I can get all the
you're-
way into range.
Okay, so now all three of you are standing, and the fish person is so confused that she's just sort of like, "What the fuck is going on?" And she sort of goes back to looking at Samsudu rather than paying attention to this weird bug creature that's calling to you magically, right?
Urtica signs to it silently.
With
Like, you
your shadow language.
can't- Yeah.
Okay, it responds. So what do you say in your shadow language? And I describe this as like a meme speak, as like a sort of a abstracted means of communication. So
Mhm.
you don't have to come up with like actual sort of metaphors or like references to stuff. You can tell me what you sort of mean to say in a general in a general way, and we'll sort of workshop how this works, because it's obviously not a feasible thing to just make up on the spot. So like, what do you say? Like, what's your attitude? What do you sort of trying to
So, like the intent
say?
of what
Yeah,
she wants to
the
say.
intent, yeah.
Deferential query, and then it's kind of like, why have you come? / like, are you the thing that this one Elora saw in the stars?
So I think your attitude is one of like questioning, basically, like why. It's like a general attitude of like, why are you here?
It's deferential questioning, because this is
Yeah.
also like, oh, is this something from my world?
Yeah.
So you mean deferential in the sense that like you're showing
Extra
reverence
polite
almost?
and-
Yeah.
Respect, yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's a polite sort of questioning rather than like an aggressive or authoritative kind of questioning. And I think it answers first of all, the sound that it's making clearly isn't actually coming from it. It has some kind of device on its chest or something that's emitting this speaking in the common tongue, whatever that is, however you want to imagine that. This is something that's sort of like an automated message almost to the audience. So that's carrying on as like a background noise to this conversation that you're now having in the secret psychic shadow language of your people, right? Or like the shadow guard. And it answers essentially. It is the purpose when we are called to answer. So yeah, essentially it's saying it's my job. Like that's the kind of attitude it has towards you. Like this, I was called, so I'm here. Like,
I am
why
the
wouldn't I
answering
be
machine.
here? Sorry, what was that?
I am the answering machine.
Yeah.
I think Lauren notices you're like communicating with it in a more
Yeah, its attention has shifted from Elora. It's now looking at Urtica, and obviously I think the shadow language is very like visual, but it's also a psychic connection. It's not necessary to actually perceive the shadows moving, but the shadows do move. So you probably see the wing shadows that I described before. They're like dancing in this strange way, and Urtica's shadow is now dancing as well behind her. So that's what you see. Elora is like this thing without any noise or like any reason other than like this moving shadow has now shifted attention towards Urtica.
Yeah, I mean, she doesn't want to interrupt because obviously that would be not great. She wasn't really getting anywhere with the communication, so she's just watching with rapt attention.
And the communication is basically just a pre-recorded message it's wearing around its neck.
Yeah, that the communication to people who don't speak shadow language is very clearly like an something that's repeating, and isn't isn't being generated by the creature itself. But this language that you're speaking with it now, it is a conversation. Like, so it just said, it answered your question, your first question. It said, "This is my job. You know, I'm here because I was called." Essentially, that's the you know, the general gist of what it's saying to you.
How did this, and again, this is signed, how did this one call you?
So you're, yeah. I think it answers that any gift ungiven, and this is like the, I'm trying to like do it in the actual, like the way they would sort of phrase it. It's like any gift that is not given cannot be returned, and it's essentially saying like, uh, I need to come when people, when I see, when I'm called, I answer. Was its first phrase, right? And then it's building on that to say like, this is a almost a reward, or like, if you are offered something, you have to answer, kind of like it's like there's a process of offering and then receiving, and that's the idea behind this. So it's like it's a gift that has been offered to someone, and you must respond to the offering. So like that's how it's answering your question of how it was called. Like it's an idea of a gift being a gift exchange, almost like a.
Is the implication that we have offered Elora up in human sacrifice?
So the implication, I think, is somewhat nebulous. Like you could interpret it either as Alora has offered it something, and therefore it must respond by offering something in return. Like any gift ungiven cannot be returned, right? So Alora has offered a gift, but it hasn't been given to this thing yet, so it can't answer the gift. So and it could be the other way around, where like it has a gift for Alora maybe, but that's not the, I think, because you speak this language fluently, the idea is that Alora has called it in some way by uh, offering. It's like whatever she did in the star stuff got its attention, and like it has to come and answer that attention with its own attention. So
But
that's why it's here.
she also doesn't remember really like what happened, because I think her recollection was all fails basically, so she can't
Yeah, you
really
don't.
come to a conclusion on like what that might be. Not that I have any idea what's being said, obviously.
Yeah, and also the message is very clearly like saying what I said, which is the ancient wordless night. You will never know the truth. You are not of this world, right? So those are the three things that's been repeating to you. So you can infer some meaning to that as well on the outside of this conversation. Anyone can do that, but the conversation itself between Erdica and this thing is going on at the same time as that. But the information you receive from it and the information it's giving out from this recording, you can put those two things together and sort of assume that there's something maybe not quite beneficial to this exchange, like, you know, saying you'll never know the truth and you are not of this world, and like that seems like it might imply that the gift that Alora offered is to be refused in some way.
Yeah, Urtica will speak just briefly, and like it's obvious that she's not addressing the like her main focus is on communicating with the butterfly, but she speaks to say, "You have offered something to this emissary, a gift ungiven," and then goes back to communicating in the shadow language and conveys to the creature, "I have forgotten something. I have a task. What is this?" And then like it's more poetic, but it's kind of like, "What is this place?" referring to the city.
So I think at this point, the echo of its, like the message that it's repeating, matches now what it's saying to you, which is that you are not of this world. And it sort of gives the impression of like an alien. You're an alien to this place, and that you don't belong here. Essentially, it's saying you don't belong here, and now it's saying that both in the spoken recording and as in the shadow, like
So
this
is
place
it
is not for
implying that
you, is
the
what it's saying.
butterfly does belong here? The butterfly is a creature of the city.
So the butterfly doesn't say that. It doesn't answer that question unless you're asking that question of the butterfly through your language.
Urtica
What it's
does ask that question immediately, if so.
okay. So essentially, it's like, okay, I don't belong here. Who who do you belong here? And I think the butterfly
Mhm.
answers in a way of speaking that, like, I think it sort of conveys the idea that it belongs here temporarily, right? Like I'm here for a reason is sort of what it says, right? It's not saying I belong here all the
An
time. It's
emissary.
saying I belong here now because I was called. Like that's the infer. You can infer that from the previous conversation, right?
And Urtica communicates, or conveys to the butterfly, like, we are the same. Like, I am also here temporarily. I also have a task. This is also my job.
Okay. So I think it sort of turns back to Elora at that point,
Mhm.
and it is now disregarding you, Urtica. Like it sort of it gives you the equivalent of a nod in the shadow language, like okay, and then turns back to Elora, and it holds out both of its long appendage like uh, sort of arms, right? These aren't like arms in the sense of a person's arms. They're more like insectile and long, and
Yeah.
they're tipped with fingers that seem quite stubby for the actual like. It wouldn't really be manipulating things with them, but it holds them both out towards you in a sort of like a just out in front. You could, you know,
Okay.
I wouldn't know how to describe the gesture, like other than just
Well,
outstretched arms.
it's like an yeah, like arms outstretched towards me.
Yeah, not quite a hug, but almost like it's sized the your width, and it's keeping its arms in line with your width, basically, and it's holding them out in front of you.
Um I
And the
think
message is repeating.
yeah, the message being the ancient world is night. You'll never know the truth. You're not of
Yeah,
this world.
yeah.
Um I think Elora is like perturbed by the sentence "you will never know the truth," obviously, because like she doesn't agree. She believes she will know the truth of everything eventually. Um, but the gesture, I don't know. The gesture is like, she's not sure what the reply should be. Like she raises her own hands to like meet the like touch of this creature.
So you touch it.
Yeah, I think so. If I'm not
I
stopped, I think.
would like you to make a toughness test,
Okay.
and yeah, just toughness, no modifier.
I love toughness tests. They historically go very well for me. Hey, I made it this time.
Okay, so you feel it feels uncomfortable. It feels bad to touch this thing. Like your hand goes numb. Like the part maybe you pull back in time to not get like ill effects from it. But it's
Hmm.
like a jellyfish sting or like a like a wasp sting or like a nettle
Sure,
kind of
yeah, like
feeling.
a
Like
it's like
yeah
cold but also like hot and stingy. Yeah.
yeah it's unpleasant, very unpleasant in fact, and you wouldn't really like enjoy touching it anymore.
So I think Elora like recoils a little bit at the like sensation, and steps back like a step away from it.
Okay.
Um, you know, as sort of like a reluctance to whatever it's doing.
Can Elora step back from it at this point, or is she still under
Yes,
the effect?
you're free to move for now.
Nice.
So as far as you want to move, just move your token because I think that's
Yeah, I think she just like takes like one step back. She wants to be like within distance that if something happens or it's like talking or it changes its message or anything like that, she'd know like what's happening. But like that curiosity, you know, that answer for her that is always like answer the question, you know, like do the thing, has been sort of rebuked by the like stinging sensation of this like very unpleasant creature.
I'm gonna give Etienne a chance to do something if you wanted to do something at this point.
Yeah, I think Etienne kind of like clears his throat quite nervously, and says, "Excuse me, creature." And again, he's not saying creature in a disrespectful way, just in a, you know, he doesn't know how to address the
Yeah.
butterfly. Does it like look towards him when he, like, you know, he's clearly speaking directly to it?
Why don't we, you know, you can roll me something for that. I think
Oh.
it sounds like you're rolling charm, right? You're trying to sort of to persuade it to look at you, almost to get
Well,
its
I mean,
attention.
I maybe I can do that after I say the whole thing I want to say,
Yeah.
Okay,
rather
so
than like
what?
doing it
Yeah,
right away, because
sure.
I want to say the thing regardless of whether he pays attention or they pay attention to me.
Okay.
I don't know the butterfly's gender.
Yeah, and they.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they because
They,
it's
yeah.
a formless,
An unknowable eldritch entity.
unknowable entity. Yeah.
Yes.
We'll go with they.
But yeah, I think Etienne, like, this is something that occurred to me as a player, so I'm going to hope that it's not too much of a stretch that it might occur to
Do
Etienne
it.
as well. But Etienne points to Urtica and says, "You are not of this world." Then he points to Elora and says, "You will never know the truth." And then he, like, really nervously points to himself and says, "The ancient wordless knight."
So,
Because like it's more that, like, as he heard those three things, like, me / Etienne thought, like, well, that, you know, the know the truth thing clearly fits with what Etienne knows about Elora. The you are not of this world thing clearly fits Urtica. Does that mean that the third thing is about me?
so you're essentially trying to communicate with it, right? Like,
Yes.
and so rumor is actually the skill I think I want you to roll, because this is
Ooh,
like
rumor.
rumor allows you to communicate. One of the examples they give for the actual skill is like talk to something that you don't share a language with, and like
Okay.
keep up a conversation. So why don't you roll me a rumor chest? And
Yes,
this is at a minus 10 because you're sort of off on
Cool.
what
My
you're
my
trying to
fellowship
say.
is already bad, so this isn't gonna
Yeah.
go well. Let's see if I need to use a reroll. Does anyone mind if I use a fortune point to try and reroll this? Just because I think it'd be,
do your
you know,
thing.
Etienne wants to know.
It's
Okay, in
your,
that case,
it's
I'm
your,
going to.
it's your fortune point to spend.
Well, it's our pool of fortune points, but yeah. I'm going to use a fortune point to reroll that. I'm assuming it still has a modifier of -10 for the reroll.
Yeah, it's a just a straight reroll the
Yeah.
D100 basically. So
Okay, rerolling.
Oh,
Oh, closer,
still a
but closer,
fail.
but
Yeah,
no.
still a fail.
Alas.
Would you like to spend another fortune point?
No,
I
I
don't
think
think
I'm going to.
you can't
Okay,
actually.
you
good.
can't.
Alright.
You can't.
If you, I think if you, well, I should
Yeah,
check, but pretty sure
normally
you have to
these
accept the
games,
results, right?
Yeah,
So,
it tends to be you have to accept the result of the reroll.
which isn't the case for the damage thing, by the way, because you can
Oh,
just
really?
keep. Well, the damage thing makes it count as a 6. You get an extra d6, and whenever you roll a d6, you can spend a fortune point. So you basically can keep spending
Oh.
fortune points to deal more damage to stuff, but it will burn through your fortune points, basically.
Yeah.
So you fail. It ignores
Yes.
you and
Cries.
steps towards Elora. Why can't I move it? Am I on the wrong layer?
I was gonna
Is
say,
it
you're
on the wrong
layer.
layer? Yeah.
I'm on the wrong layer. So it steps towards Elora, arms outstretched, sort of, you know, it's not menacing because it doesn't seem to have, like its intention isn't to harm you necessarily, but it is stepping towards you, its arms still outstretched, as if expectant of something.
Hey, Laura, give it something, like a token of some sort.
Okay. She looks through her stuff. Digging through her belongings. She doesn't really have a lot, other than the books that she's been carrying and like the notebooks she's been writing in. I think she probably hands over one of the library's books, or tries to, because it's something that she considers to be valuable and
So-
worthy of being a token.
It's both its hands are outstretched, but not close enough to actually put the book, like hold the book, and it doesn't actually move its arms at all when you hold out the book. It's
Okay,
not
so it's
reaching
like
towards the
it
book.
doesn't really reply to that. Okay.
Yeah.
No, it does not respond to the. You can try to put the book on, like balance it on its arm, but it's basically not going to touch the book or do anything with the
Okay.
book.
She like offers it out and then puts it away.
Oh, sorry, bad
And
idea, I
again,
guess.
the message is repeating as you're standing there. This is repeating the same 3 sentences over and over.
Can Urtica ask the question in shadow language? Like, what is it you want from her?
So you sort of asked that
Specifically.
already, but if you're like trying to get more information from this thing, yeah, you're asking, what is it you want exactly? And I think it basically gives you the metaphorical answer of like, I'm here to take this one, Alora, away to where she belongs.
Hmm.
And you can assume, based on your experience as a person from the Shadow Garden, this sort of implies an alternate dimension, somewhere outside of where you are now. This is again, it's saying you don't belong here. You are not of this world. It said that in shadow language and in the physical language. So you get the impression that it's here to like clean up the mess and like pick up this stray uh, perception person, take it
Oh, that-
away. So
Because isn't that like it? Does it imply that Alora belongs in the Shadow Garden? In the
the main implication is that Alora doesn't belong here, and that she got its attention somehow, and it's now answering that attention and taking her out of this place. Like she doesn't belong here, clearly. So that's you infer essentially that it's gonna take her away.
yeah, the Urtica speaks to say, the emissary has come for you.
But I
You do not. You belong. You do not belong here.
but I don't want to go with the emissary. She says, like a little like worried, nervous. She looks at the creature and says like she shakes her head and says like I'm not going to come with you. I want to stay here.
So it doesn't
Um,
respond to spoken language at all.
Urtica communicates in the shadow tongue, sight, and signs. Like this one is part of my purpose. Like, and the kind of metaphorical underpinning of that is like, I am just like you. I am here for a job. This is my job. This one is part of that. Like, this Elora is like part of the purpose for which I am here. You can't take it away because then you'll be frustrating my purpose.
So I've got to ask you: are you lying? Is this a deception or is this a convincing kind of?
This is not a deception. It may not even be possible to lie in the shadow language. There's a possible detail, but Urtica probably would not. Like her like chaos order thingy is all about truth and candor.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we actually took away the guile skill from you as well, right? Like
yeah.
as part of your taking stealth, which I forgot to mention, you all got 50 XP, but I told you that outside of the game. As well.
Yeah.
But yeah. By the way, if you want to spend that on a focus, feel free. Anyway, so you're not lying. I guess I'll make you roll. It doesn't really matter because you don't have a skill in either, but I think it's a charm rather than a bargain. Like it's sort of haggling, but you're also trying to convince this thing, right?
Success.
Hey.
Depending on the modifier, but
So I would actually have given you probably a plus 10 because you're recognizable as a obviously a faction member or something. There's a link there between
Mhm.
your mask, this thing. You both speak the same language. Like you're obviously I'm being a bit awkward in the way I'm describing this language, just but you speak the same language. Like for us, the players, it's sort of a weird way of speaking, but for you, this is very natural for this thing as well. So I would have given you a plus 10, but either way, you rolled a 29 under 40, so you're successful. So it turns its attention to you, Urtica, and I think its general attitude now is like, well, why am I called then? Like what's the deal? Like, it's sort of, this is like a, you get called into work on a on your day off kind of attitude. Like that's the metaphor it's giving you, right? Like the what the fuck.
Because like, so like Urtica is as confused as we are, and that kind of like she's saying that like I have forgotten. Like she knows her purpose, but like there's a whole lot of how the world works and why that is just a mystery to her.
Yes.
But she recognizes that this entity is like this is maybe as an entity it is more familiar to her than the city is. Like this is fine. Like finally my comfort zone, a weird eldritch thing that I don't understand.
And I think for like out of character knowledge, Urtica has never seen this thing before. Like, not even if you could remember it, but like just generally, because you, uh, 2 episodes ago or whatever, you critically succeeded at fishing, and that linked your memories back to you, sort of, because you were actually peering into the night, and that was linked to your Shadow Garden memories. Like your memories are pretty solid now, but that said, there are gaps and stuff, but this thing is something that you've never perceived, and you don't feel like you forgot about it. Like this is a fairly new experience, but it's obviously familiar in the same way that it speaks your language and so on.
Yeah, it's more the type of the. It's not the like. Obviously, this is a weird alien thing, but like weird alien things are common in the Shadow Garden, I would assume.
Yeah, like you know, it's almost as if it's the kind of butterfly that might alight at one of those giant flowers that you were growing, kind of feeling like it's of the same sort of biome, I would say, like
Mhm.
some space extra cosmic like dimension of shadow, and it's part of that. And
Elora,
by the way,
Elora's just
the
like
message is
shaking her head, like, no, I don't want to go.
And
You've
like
made a mistake.
Urtica holds up a hand to Alora that's like, shh, we're talking.
the the
and
the arms have dropped on this creature. Like it's well, they have stopped. Like they've not they stopped paying attention to Allura completely. Turn towards Urtica.
Elora
Their
is
arms
very
have gone down.
relieved by the arms dropping
Yeah.
and the no forward motion. She looks
the
to
message has
Etienne. She
stopped,
looks
too.
to Etienne like, whew. Yeah.
Etienne kind of like gives her like a small like relieved nod, then kind of like looks around the butterfly creature to Urtica and says, what's it saying?" Kind of whispering as if it's going to pay attention somehow.
So Urtica, you were going to say something, or
Urtica will sorry, I'm just sneezing.
Gesundheit?
Urtica will again try and convey to the shadow creature um these ones and like indicate the fish. These ones fish your skies. These ones take the star stuff from you.
So
These
you mentioned
ones
the fish. They are moving closer.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
I mean, I assume you can see the movement. Like,
I don't know
you-
why, but the tokens just make me laugh so much. Like the little fish heads.
So you notice that Samsudu is no longer made of stone at this point, and they are stepping towards you, kind of cautiously. Uh, should we take a break at this point?
We certainly can if you would like
Is
to
it
take a
break
break.
time?
If you'd like to
the
take a
time,
break.
the time has shifted by an hour, so I'm not sure if this is actually meant to be the break time. That we
I
need
mean,
to
we're
take.
1.5 hours into a 3-hour thing, so it's about the middle. You know.
Okay, so let's take a break. I think
So
as you see the fish approaching.
okay, we'll take a break and we'll be right back, friends. See you soon. And we're back. We're back for a second half. All right, what
Welcome
were
back.
we doing? Urtica was gonna say something. I feel like.
So Urtica was speaking to this strange butterfly from outer space, and had just noticed out of the corner of her eye that the fish people were moving towards you all, and had said to this butterfly, uh, "Those fish people were fishing your sky."
And this is the
Is
like
that, is that the gist of it?
you've come to acquire something, like you've come for the offering, and like and you've come because you were called, and it's all these fish people's fault because they're collecting your stardust. They dunked Laura in it. They like and it's not like here's a list of specifics. It's this very metaphorical story kind of conveyance, but it's yeah like
You're
these fish
essentially
people are the reason
conveying
you
like those are the ones you want to like.
yeah
Uh,
take
it's
them.
their fault. Take them, right?
Take them.
So I think the butterfly thing like essentially gives you like the metaphorical like no no like I was called by Elora, but it doesn't say, in fact it doesn't say Elora, and it doesn't, there are no names I think in this language, kind of like there's no designation, but it's like it gives you the sense like I was called by a specific entity, and that was why I'm here. And like if there has been a misunderstanding, right, this is a separate like metaphor I guess. So if there's been a misunderstanding and there's nothing further, it sort of like leaves that open, like is there anything else, essentially it's saying like.
The butterfly is aware that there are giant vats of star stuff in this place, right?
It seems to you that its awareness was transferred through the star stuff, so its awareness of, unless you're asking like specifically, which like specifics is sort of difficult in the language of the shadow
Mm.
realm, right, like, but if you're asking that, are you asking that, I should ask.
It's more that like it's fine with that, right? It's fine with them collecting the star stuff.
So I guess, yeah, I guess that was part of your first sort of metaphor of like there's the fish people, like they're the guilty party kind of thing, right? And like I think that's covered by it saying no, I don't care about the fish people, sorry, kind of like that. That's first message to you before was like no, that's not an issue. Like the clear the situation was as I stated. I was called by Elora, and that's why I'm here. And like it carries on, like if there's nothing else, sort of like it leaves a vast chasm between you in metaphorical language, like a chasm which you may fill with a river, like I don't know, like I you know, I'm being poetic, but that's the kind of the attitude it's giving you, right? Like
And
is
so
there anything else?
I guess the anything else is then return is the like the metaphorical return then.
Okay, so like yeah, you're done essentially, like
Whew.
no, there's no. So the butterfly, I think, turns back towards Elora, and it sees the fish people behind Elora, and it's, I think, you know, as best as you can guess, it looks sort of like deflated a little, you know, or like annoyed, you know. It's got that kind of body language of like, well, this was a waste of time. This was a
Oh.
complete waste of time.
It's a taxi driver who drove to an appointment and then the appointment didn't show up, so then they have to drive all the way back to the.
Yeah, that's very good. Yeah, that's a good way of describing it. But it does portrays this in a very alien and like, you know, this isn't this isn't a human body language kind of body language. But you get that impression just from, you know, everything you've perceived of this creature, and it steps backwards, and it poofs out its big goldfish butterfly wings, and they're very impressive and quite beautiful. You know, they really have this flowing nature, almost as if it's underwater, like at all times. And it begins to float away backwards, right, like just sort of off and up, and it vanishes eventually from sight as you're, I don't know if you watch it fly away, but it's flying away basically. Always keeping its face towards you though, like as if maybe you could change your mind almost, right?
Okay. Well, I let it go. And then I realized we have fish people behind us, I think.
Yeah, so the fish people, I think they're about here now. They've been slowly inching and like, curiously looking. And Samsudu is looking at you, specifically Elora,
Uh-huh.
with a look of like, uh, I don't know, concern, I would say. Like she seems, and the other fish person doesn't have any kind of attitude towards you because I don't think she already knows you or like had any interactions with you specifically other than trying to break in. But she seems
If
more worried.
Elora had pupils, they'd be dilated as hell.
So yeah, Samsudu seems concerned for you, and the other fish person is concerned for Samsudu, right? So that's the body language. Like the other
Sure.
fish person is sort of like oh, not holding her up, but like she's doing that like hover, like "Are you okay?" kind of body language, right? And Samsudu is doing that for you almost like. Yeah, she's not saying anything. She's letting you speak first.
I think Elora like turns around. She steps into line with like the rest of the gang, you know. Because she's not sure like what the reaction is going to be from our fish people friends, and she says I'm all right. I think thank you for the experience. We're going to go.
So Samsudu steps forward and is followed by the other fish person. And she says, "Oh, good. So you have now perceived the vastness of your smallness?"
I don't remember, but I certainly perceived something, and I feel very awake right now.
Hmm. Good. So, no hard feelings?
Etienne snorts loudly.
And Ertica says to Allura, "The emissary came to take you. It would have, if not for me."
And I think Alora turns to Urtica and is like, yeah, but that's not Samsudu's fault, necessarily.
Etienne snorts again.
Samsudi lied.
So-
And like this is the greater sin for Ertica. Like
Yeah, the
oh,
lies.
lying? Yeah, I guess. So she did say she lied, and I think she's basically gonna be closing the door because Alora said we're going now, but
I think Alora will just like as the door's closing, just be like, just one question.
Yes.
Why lie about not having done the
I just wanted you to have the opportunity to partake of the activity of star stuff fishing. It's my favorite hobby. It's what we all do, we here. And you seemed so interested in gathering the product I offered you with warnings to partake yourselves. I did not force you.
Alora kind of nods. It's just like, all right, uh, we'll chalk this one up to experience.
If you ever find yourselves in the neighborhood, please, I would love to fish with you again.
I'll let you know, I suppose.
And Samsudu is very clearly not noticing that you have taken any of her stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking that's what that roll was.
Yeah, she doesn't see the fishing. Like Ertika, I assume. Like I'm not sure what your backpack situation is, right? But you're a tall being of a shadow ogre, right? So feasibly, you could if the fishing rod was on your back or some such place, right? It wouldn't be visible to her
Mm.
very clearly. So she obviously hasn't noticed any of that, and she just says, as I said, oh, anytime you're around, we can fish again. And she's sort of closing the door like slowly, but like I don't know if you have anything else to say to her. Now's the time. Otherwise, the door is going to be shut.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
She's gonna stare impassively at the door.
So
As
go
soon as
on.
the door's shut, Etienne kind of like glares at the door and says, "Please tell me you're not going to take her up on that offer."
Which offer? You mean to?
The come back and fish again offer.
Well, the fishing isn't the problem. It was the dunking that was kind of the issue.
Well, yes, but I think consorting with people who don't seem to understand the concept of manipulation through lying.
And I feel fine, Etienne. Just fine. Perfectly fine.
Etienne kind of glowers at Elora like, "You're not taking this seriously enough for my liking." But,
You
he
easily-
doesn't say anything about it. He just kind of stares.
What was that, Ink?
You could easily not have been.
But that's true of so many things when you think about the possibilities of not being fine. We learned something. And
We did.
and we met a very strange entity. And that is in itself worth the effort.
You are part of my purpose now. That is what convinced the emissary to leave.
Am I? What purpose? What purpose do you mean, Ertika? Is
She,
it the
like,
seeds?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Takes the seed bag.
Well, I'm fine with being part of that purpose. I have my own purpose, of course. And we are the handout showed up. But
I figured it out.
and we of course have our own mission for the home, supplies and so forth, and I don't really think this has been particularly beneficial in that regard, though
We should move on.
very diverting and quite interesting. I've never
And you're
been
both by the way feeling pretty like the effect of this stuff is a beneficial one as far as like you've got 2 extra damage threshold and extra willpower, and you've got an extra peril threshold, so you're actually not feeling like this wasn't a bad experience as far as like the consumption of it, except for the stress that you generated
except
from
for the level 3 or whatever peril 2 peril that I'm
Yeah.
at.
Yeah, but like right now you're feeling okay, I think, basically.
Mhm.
Like as far as the effects of this stuff weren't like negative.
No, of
essentially.
course.
You just have to wait for what happens when they wear off.
Well, we should move on. I think I don't know that the fishers have anything else to really offer us, supply wise. And once Samsudu finds out that we took things, she may be less receptive to our presence here.
Yeah, Etienne nods in agreement.
Ertika is kind of like, we didn't take it. Like that was a completely legitimate exchange, kind of, but doesn't say anything. And kind of strides off in some direction.
So I'll move you back to the world map essentially.
As we're striding off, Etienne would like to make a point of like stepping into line with Ertika and just saying, "Thank you, by the way, for being able to talk to it and convincing it not to take Alora. Neither of us could have done that, so thanks.
And she just kind of like shrugs as if there's no kind of like it's not like a oh you're welcome. It's kind of like a yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. Etienne doesn't need a response. He just wanted to make sure he knows make sure his gratitude is portrayed.
Elora's busy writing things down.
So are you working on doing this, I assume? Or is this like you've stepped away from the building and now you're having a conversation?
Yeah, I think we're like walking,
Yeah, I think this is as we're
walking and
walking, yeah.
talking.
Northeast or northwest?
Yeah, so essentially there's the choice again.
Well,
is
there's
the one I
also
gave
the
you when you
three
first
to
entered.
the south, right? But
Yeah.
we don't know what they
So
are.
you don't know what those are, and that's what I was about to say. Is that I'm giving you the choice that I gave you when you first entered the hex, which is exploration mode or like travel through mode. And travel through mode is when you would choose a direction to go into a different hex, and exploration mode is you're staying in the same hex.
I think it's time to travel through. Party, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I'm up for finding a new hex. Because we can always come back here and do I'm sure there'll be more encounters in this hex, but we can come back.
Let's go to one we can't see. That would
Yeah.
be my
Okay.
that would be my desire. I think.
Continue due south.
What was that?
Continue
Due
due
south.
south.
Yeah, why not? Let's
Due
just
south.
let's
Okay.
just head in
So-
a straight line.
Travel isn't a simple matter. There is a role necessary, and this is
Okay.
now. By the way, any of you have food on you?
I think I do.
Build a water skin. I don't know about food. Let me
Okay,
check.
because if you don't have any food, I should note that you should be aware of your lack of like provisions.
Yeah, okay. We didn't
Yeah.
actually pack to provision really.
Yeah, I have
Yes.
water but no food.
I
I
have
did
red cap
specifically-
mushrooms, but apparently they're a hallucinogenic drug.
Hmm.
Red cap mushrooms. Each dose increases your damage threshold by 1, and you take 1 corruption. It's similar to star stuff essentially, but it always does that one thing. Out of character, star stuff is basically just randomized 3 different drug doses, delirant drug doses.
Hell yeah.
So the one you have on you, red cap mushrooms, is for damage threshold. There's one for black lotus is for willpower, which is like it's like magic and like sort of you take it. I think only really spellcasters would want that one really. And the last one is the peril threshold, which is your mandrake root. Which Urtica, I believe you have a special power when you fail a stress, fear, or terror roll. You actually get free doses of that, like
Indeed.
due to
Hunger
your
pangs.
ancestry. Yeah, so that's the mechanical effects you're getting. Like I should give you that information because you could figure that out yourselves by knowing the rules. And like since not all of you have access to the books and stuff,
Mhm.
I'll just tell you that's what star stuff was doing to you. It was giving you a random dose of one of those 3 delirants, right?
Interesting.
So that's what that stuff does, and that's what red cap mushrooms do. But red cap mushrooms are not food, yeah. So unless you have food written down in some capacity, which I don't believe you do, you have no provisions for this travel.
Okay.
With that in mind, do we want to reconsider and go back home and stock up if we're going to take a longer trip, or do we want to play it on the assumption that we will find food when we need it?
I think we should forge onwards.
Yeah, we weren't smart enough to provision beforehand, so why would we be smart enough to do so now?
To be fair, I didn't even think that food necessarily was an issue, which I should have thought about.
The mission comes before everything else, including food.
Due south.
Okay, so the reason I asked about food is because one of the roles now for travel is the survivalist role, which is essentially in the game rules it's bushcraft and like foraging for food
Scavenging,
and stuff,
yeah.
right? But in this setting, it's more like keeping your eyes open for potential like glyphs that might provide food, like water
tasty
sources from
glyphs.
fountains, stuff like that. there are wild animals in the city, by the way, that roam around of all kinds, right? So there's certain degrees of hunting as well that you can kind of do to like provision yourself. So that is one of the rules. There's the other two rules I went over when we did the exploration of the hex itself, which is the guide, which is navigation, and the scout, which is stealth. So
Yeah.
those are the three roles. There's survival, navigation, and stealth. So each of you please choose a role
Okay.
and then roll that roll.
Well, I have survival, but I also am currently having to ignore one of my skill ranks because of
Yes.
peril. So
I
I don't have survival.
I don't have survival, and I have a -1 in that attribute.
Mm.
So, and I think Ink is the only one who has stealth.
My survival. I don't have any stealth. My survival. Oh, do I have?
You
Didn't
should
you
have.
take
spend
stealth
200
instead of
Yeah,
guile?
You would have had to spend 200
Oh, yeah.
XP to get stealth. So
I did
unless you
indeed
saved,
take stealth.
you did.
I did indeed take stealth. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you spent as long as you spent the 200 XP to buy
I
it, you
spent the
have
200
it.
XP. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
they got the 100 back from Guile and then spent their first like skill rank.
Well,
on it.
I've given you 250 XP, I think, total.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you should be you're, like it's. I just want to make sure that like those spending is
I
correct.
only have 50 unspent.
Then that's fine.
Same.
You've got stealth, and I should add, navigation is a specialist skill. So
Yeah.
Elf, if you have that skill, you should probably
I
just roll
think
that.
I do. Yeah. I
think
do
you
have
do.
I do have navigation. Yes, I do.
Even with the minus peril thing, because you're trained in it, you will get to not flip. You won't flip the fail on navigation test, whereas everyone
Hooray.
else who isn't.
I will
So that-
roll navigation.
Cool. That leaves me with survival then, even though I'm not good at it.
Well, that's okay.
Is there a
And
modifier?
these-
here?
I navigate.
Ooh, nice. Oh
I
god.
stealth.
Okay, success.
Uh,
Hey! Critical!
Okay. So
Wow.
survival. Let's see what happens. 'Cause
There it
I'll narrate that
is.
since it's a critical success. Not only is a survivalist blah 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 blah. I don't actually want to read all this out because it's.
I forgot that the -1 in my attribute doesn't apply to, like, the rolls. It's
Nah,
just
it
based off
only
the actual number.
matters.
Yeah,
it only
that- yeah,
matters on
yeah.
stats.
That's fine.
Okay, so you get to ignore one toughness test on the stretch. Okay. All right. And success, just success, means that you find a comfortable camping spot, and you can. Oh, okay. So basically, the narrative of this is that you found a good spot to rest, and you found. I think since it's a critical success, I'm gonna say this is like a garden spot. Like you successfully found not only a safe space to, not like a defensible spot to rest in. This is like actually like you're perfectly safe for the night. But we'll get to that first after the navigation role is figured out, right? So travel wise, you all have to make a. So navigation check means that you don't need you only require one day's worth of provisions for this stretch. However, you have no provisions, so I'm still going to make you roll a toughness test on top of the normal toughness test.
Wasn't
you
the
made.
survival to?
No, actually, it turns out navigation is for provisions because you're cutting like it's like basically how much food you need to, how many resources you need to expend to make your way through. Right?
I see.
So you succeeded. So you're going at a normal pace, like you're making good time, but it's not special like critical success time. So yeah, I got it wrong. But essentially, survival doesn't provide free food. I think
Darn
you
it.
actually have to make a separate test probably, or take longer on the route, right? So I'm gonna like home rule it because I'm not quite sure if I'm happy with like the fluff of this.
Sure.
Right? So like navigation tests for trap, because I changed the way it worked for exploration. Like navigation was literally exploring. Here it's like trying to find the most direct route through. So I won't say it costs you. Like I'm gonna say someone needs to take the time to forage, and I think that would be another survival test, like on top of the actual tests, and like you'd have to take it would shorten your amount of time you have to travel with, but it would provide you with provisions if you succeed, basically. If that makes sense, like you're taking longer to travel over the distance of this hex, but you also don't have to starve.
That
essentially.
makes sense. Yeah.
So what was the survival test I made was for when we find a camp, it'll be a
Yeah.
safe space.
Yeah.
So basically, your test is cutting down on the toughness tests that you would need to make just for traveling, which is part of like your marching essentially through this,
Right.
hex. So essentially, you don't have to make a test to get through this hex toughness wise because you critically succeeded, right? And as well as that, when you rest, you can rest to full peril track, right? Unhindered completely. Normally, you would only be able to rest up to the imperiled status, right?
Hmm.
So because you
Nice.
critically succeeded on this survival test, you get a full night's rest, like at the end of the stretch. And you also ignore one toughness test that you would have to make. And I'll say this is just a medium stretch because you were already exploring a little bit in the
Yeah.
hex, right? So we'll just ignore that toughness test. But someone else, I think, needs to make a survival test for like I'm not sure if I want you to roll that or if I just want to say, oh, it takes you longer. Like this is a longer stretch. Like if the cost
I
should
mean,
be a roll or if it should be
time moving on is
time
an
cost.
important factor, right? Like you've said before, that like narrative time is important.
I should have really done a better job of figuring all this stuff out. Like
It's all
as
good.
far as how
So we can
survival
play it by ear
works.
now.
We
and then
yeah
you can,
we like
Yeah, yeah, well,
I
that's what
honestly
I'm
forgot
basically-
rations and like food were a mechanic in
Yeah,
terms of my
yeah.
my engagement. So like yeah, I didn't buy any when we were at the store.
So why don't someone narrate to me what you're doing to find food?
So I
in this
think
extra time.
I think Elora, when plotting our route, saves time for like rooting around in buildings and so on. Like it's not a full exploration of these places, but like just checking in for like any glyphs or anything that could be like spotted that might be of use on the way through. Like we're not just walking down the street, we're also like checking doorways and stuff.
So you're doing like a basically you're keeping an eye out for buildings that would provide food rather than hunting or like
That would be
gathering
Alora's way to do it.
Mhm.
Like glyphs are her foraging, if you know what I mean.
Is there anything to hunt other than the citizenry?
so there are, like I said, animals. Like there are wild animals, and like Urtica might not be aware of them as far as a thing, being a thing. Like you're very new here, and that's also not part of the like information dump that you get as you enter the city, kind of thing. Like it's a separate reality to what you've been implanted with. Like I described that, I think as far as your knowledge, like money and all that other stuff, sort of implanted in you when you arrived here from the Shadow Garden, and that the wild animal thing is a new thing. But there are wild animals, and I think Etienne and Elora would be aware of them, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah,
I think like unless Elora's hunt for glyphs and stuff fails, I think Etienne will just kind of go along with that rather
Yeah.
than like looking for starting to like think, well, okay, how can I set up a trap for some rats or something?
Elora's
Okay, so-
definitely not a like rat like a animal hunter. She's more like this looks like it might be a public building where there may be glyphs to acquire.
Yeah. Someone roll me a d8, please.
A D8. Okay.
Yeah.
6.
Okay. And a d6 after that.
Okay. 2.
and then a d20.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I'm making you roll this, but this is how I generate shit. At
4.
random. Okay. Okay. So I think what you basically your search for food was on a like building level, right? So uh, you find a series of tents set up, not tents, stalls, like
Like an
wooden
outdoor
structures.
marketplace.
Yeah, like an outdoor market kind of place, and it has these very well, I suppose you wouldn't see them brightly painted, but they are brightly painted. But it's the nighttime sort of starlight area, right?
Mhm.
This is like an open sort of area that has a bunch of these stalls, and they have signs on. Each of them have these like big signs on them, and they're all painted and like very clearly attention grabbing signs. Like you don't know what they say because it's in this language that you don't actually speak, and you're not sure if it's an actual language or if it's like you don't this like glyphs and all that stuff is something that is alien to everyone in the city, right? Like there's something there to maybe figure out because
So
Mhm.
this is like the language of the city, not the language of anyone who lives within the city.
yeah, it's not a common language, and as far as you know, no one has deciphered what these symbols and signs mean, if they mean anything, and maybe they don't mean anything. But there's very clearly these big signs, and there's these
Can
stalls.
I take a focus preference in
Yes.
ancient languages?
Now, focuses in your attribute is combat, is it not? Your upbringing.
It is, yes, unfortunately.
So that's the only ones you can buy for 50.
Damn
Every
it!
other focus will cost
Oh
100.
no!
Yeah, I should have specified when I said if
I
you want to buy a
forgot.
focus,
I
it has to
forgot.
be in the ones that only cost 50 because I only gave you 50 XP because our session was cut in half last time.
Indeed,
Right?
indeed.
So 50 if you want to get a combat focus, but that won't help you.
That will
let
not
me tell you
help
up
me.
front.
I was just trying to be tricky and add a focus that was relevant. But it's cool.
So yeah, this is just sort of an open market area, and I think you probably smell food, and that's how you got drawn to here.
These places always have something we can use, I'm sure. And after that swim, I'm feeling quite hungry.
I think they call that the munchies.
Oh yeah, and by the way, I think we'll just call the effects of the star stuff are cleared now. All your
Okay.
stats are back to normal. Remove all that stuff. So your peril threshold for Urtica has gone back, and for you, Alora, it's your damage threshold and your willpower are back to normal.
Yeah.
And you are no longer critically failing when you fail either of those three things.
Wonderful.
Because this is like a travel montage, like, and I think this is will sort of like I don't really need to go into the details of what you're finding here.
No, of
But-
course.
This is sort of like on the way through this massive sort of cosmos district. Like you've stumbled onto this plaza that has these stalls and stuff, and this is like a part of the montage of traveling. So imagine other scenes along the way, like you have time to talk and stuff. But this is at the point you found food here.
We're walking, we're got food, we're gonna find a campsite to rest.
Is the
yeah.
food like? Is it like a glyph that's kind of free essentially, or is it something we have to like pay for? Assuming it's a glyph, or is it literally a kind of a stall with stuff on it that just kind of randomly generates in the way the city does?
Why don't you 100?
You say you want me to roll a d100?
Yes, please.
A 41.
41. Okay. So you find it's like there's a bunch of these signs, right? And each of them have their own sort of vats of stuff, right? And I think the first one you walk up to has a substance in it that smells like it might be soup.
Soup.
and yeah, I think color-wise it looks soup colored and all that other stuff.
Mm.
However, there are no bowls or other eating utensils. There's just this vat of soup, and it's not bubbling. It's sort of uh, placid. Is that the word?
Yeah, like just kind of flat and clear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a clearly just you know, it's not. It gives off a slight warmth, but it's not roiling or bubbling or anything.
Mm. I think Etienne like looks around for any sort of like vessel that could be used to like hold the soup that is smaller than the barrel it's currently in. Like looks on neighboring stalls or anything like that to see if there's any like ceramic wares on sale or anything, mugs or something like that.
So there's probably stuff around and as like eating stuff, right? But there it's like plates
Yeah.
and like forks and there's you know nothing specifically made for holding soup except for maybe some like drinking cups, right?
That'll do. Cup of soup's a thing.
Okay, so you Etienne goes off and grabs three, I assume three,
Yes.
one for each
Yeah.
of you.
No,
Like
Etienne is
drinking
horribly
vessels.
selfish and just gets one for himself.
only for Etienne.
Yeah, no, he gets one for everyone.
Okay, so you dip the drinking vessel, the first one, into the soup, and it has a skin on top of it, right?
Mm.
If you ever had soup that's been left out too
Yes.
long,
Yeah.
that's the quality of this soup. Is that there's a skin over the top of it. It's obviously kind of, I mean, it's a little nasty, like, but not inedible
Yeah.
and not like perished. It hasn't rotted, but
No.
clearly it's not quite like fresh soup. It's like slightly old.
Is this what drains from the flesh wall?
Uh,
To answer
I
that in
sincerely hope
character,
not.
no, it doesn't. The viscosity of this and the viscosity of the juice from the fresh flesh wall, very different.
That's good.
This is thick and like goopy and like obviously
Hooray!
soupy, right? It also doesn't seem to have anything in it. It seems to be a pure solid like
Oh, it's a consomme. Great.
yeah. So that's the experience. And like taste wise, I would say it's basically like I mean, out of character, it's like a pea soup kind of taste, right? And
Uh-huh.
that's the soup you've got here
Awesome.
with the nasty skin on top, and that's the result of your like
Yeah.
your day's travel. So it's not gourmet food, but it's also not inedible, and it's
No.
kind of weird drinking soup out of a cup and like with a skin.
Is
on top.
it? It's not really.
I was gonna say like I don't know. Maybe you don't.
I
have
think
them,
I think
where
I'm
you are,
more.
but
I think
Papa
I'm
soup is literally a thing, like a
more
brand out here.
often
But
have.
these are like I mean, they're not cups made for soup. If you mean,
That's-
know
yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like
I
they're
know.
they're like wine glasses or like
Okay. I was picturing
You
more like a
know,
teacup, but
it's-
yeah. So drinking it out of a
no,
wine glass
no,
is a bit weird.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's more like a. I mean, I wouldn't know what the equivalent. It's sort of like a big gulp. Like
I was
a-
gonna say
equivalent,
like I
equivalent.
often make myself a mug of chicken soup. That happens
Yeah,
quite
yeah.
frequently.
But there's also the consistency of it is it's not the kind of soup you would eat out of you would drink, right? It's more of like a eating soup, and so like having them in a cup. I don't know. Anyway,
We allied
let you
the
decide how weird it
consuming
is,
of
yeah, like,
soup.
you have consumed soup. The soup is a pea soup, like a magical fantasy pea soup that somehow was still there in this weird place.
Doing great. Eating soup out of random
Yeah.
vats of soup.
And the stealth test result was to roll sort of random encounter, but there wasn't one. So you are now peacefully able to rest in.
Yes.
And I did say it was going to be a garden, so I'm going to give you that because you critically succeeded. I'll say this: you find like off the side of this like plaza of stalls is a small alcove that leads you into a lush green like space, and it's filled with all sorts of plants, flowers, and other kinds of like greenery, right? And
I'm assuming
this,
there's no like edible like plants in this garden.
you know, why don't you roll me a d6, and I'll tell
Okay.
you the answer to that question.
Is this still in the Cosmos district, or is this in the
Yes,
next
you're
hex?
sort of. This is like yes, there are fruits.
Hey.
So to answer that question, yes, this is like a travel montage that I'm not doing a very good job of describing as a travel montage, but you are essentially on your way out of the Cosmos district due south. And another note I should say, because I just realized the navigation roll will determine if you get lost or not as well. So,
Mhm.
and this isn't a rule I'm making up right now that I realized I made up earlier and that I didn't like note down. But essentially, like you know you're actually going in the right direction because you succeeded. Like you are still heading south towards the the tile below the one you wanted, the one you're in. But you're traveling through. So you're still in the Cosmos district, but you're on your way out, and you found a place to stay because you're tired. Essentially, like your bodies have gone through all that stuff that you went through like in real time, and now this montage of like 6 hours plus of walking basically to get out of the place. So you found this garden at the end of like imagine sort of a long walk. Like uh,
I
you did
feel-
take time to look for food as well.
I
So
feel like
but,
there's probably some interrogation as to Urtica's mask and why it would glow in the light of the emissary by Alora during this montage. I imagine that this is more of a there isn't any relevant information to give. It's just that during the montage it looks silently, if this were a film, it looks silently like Alora is asking Urtica a lot of questions. And they aren't getting a particularly useful reply, I would imagine.
What about this? What about this? What about this?
Yeah, pretty much.
Which Urtica is like, it was my face. I didn't
I
see it
don't
because
know.
it was my face.
Yeah.
do you ever take the mask off, Artica?
No. Maybe
How
to
do you eat soup?
Yeah.
Taking off your mask.
Maybe there's like an awkward kind of like tipping the mask back
Yeah, you
slightly
like-
to pour
yeah,
the soup inside.
Yeah,
and
you
then...
like lift it and then yeah.
Okay.
So, going
I-
back to what we said about the. Oh, sorry. You go first. Actually.
No,
Yeah.
you go ahead, Jeezy.
I was going to say this might be like skipping ahead again if this is still something you want to montage, but I was going to say going back to the fruit in the garden that you
Yes.
said we found. It seems edible, I assume.
Yeah, I think like fruit generally is edible, right? Like there's
I mean, they're inedible fruits, or it could be
Yeah,
like
yeah.
overripe or underripe, or
because imagine like a garden is a kind of place like imagine a garden in the real world. Would you really grow fruit that you can't eat, kind of thing? Like so, I think if there's fruit in a garden, you can sort of assume that it's for the purposes of someone eating it, right? Like you don't
Yeah,
really.
I was just thinking, is it kind of like, you get lots of, berries on a bush that a bird could eat, but if a human ate it, it would give them
Yeah.
digestive issues, kind of
So
thing.
I think berries and like fruit, I'm gonna sort of separate out.
Okay.
Uh,
So
but I
when
also
you
don't
say
have a
there is
random
fruit,
table
it
for
means
fruit.
there is edible,
Edible fruit, yeah,
consumable
like
fruit. Okay.
food. So maybe this would count as like a. Well, actually, you know what? I don't know.
So what I
Is
was
it-
going to say was that Etienne would like pick some of the fruit and like put it in his bag for like the next day's provisions for like the whole group, if there's enough for
Yeah, see, that's
a
I'm
day's
trying to
meal.
figure out like how to manage that as far as like should I just give you a day's provisions? Should I give you how many people per thing? And if like there's a rule I should make or something. And there's no luck mechanic in this game.
Uh-huh. I don't know.
But you know what? I'll give you all a free day's worth of provisions in the form of fruit. So this is fresh fruit, not preserves. So it will go bad essentially, but like on a
Yeah,
time
that's why I was
scale
thinking
that's
I wasn't going to take
outside.
like multiple days worth.
Yeah.
You
'cause it
can.
might go bad.
I mean, also there's only enough. Like I'll say, you rolled a 6. I'll say why not? That counts as a luck roll. Like you got enough fruit for like another day's worth of travel, basically. Like
Yeah.
next time you travel, you won't need to take the time to like look for food if you don't want to. But if you do, you might find food that you can carry on as provisions.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So, Elf, you can say what you were going to say now.
Oh, I was just gonna say there's probably also a brief discussion with Ertica about the fact that this is a garden. And-
Yeah, and especially a garden in a like district with such a connection to the stars.
Mhm.
So there's definitely going to be an attempt to plant a seed here.
So you would like to? Well, first of all, if you any of that role playing that you want to do, feel free. Like, there's the montage nature of this is that like I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I think once everybody's like settled down and we're sort of like getting ready to rest, people have got their like bed rolls out and everything, or however it is that people rest or sleep, because that's very characterizing as well. Alora in particular, she nests generally when it comes to like resting. She has sort of like a bedroll and then like a blanket and then her cloak, and she kind of piles things up and then has like a she sort of curls up in a very like fetal position, sleeping position.
It's all a substitute for the book nest.
It is,
got
yeah,
all the books already.
exactly. Like when she was in the library, she did this, and she just had like a static one that she'd go back to all the time, you know. But that's kind of her habit, is to like clutter things. She's like a very cluttered person. And I think when she's setting this up, she turns to Ertica and says like, "So, I'm part of your purpose now. So I feel I would be remiss in not mentioning that you could put a seed here."
The same thought has occurred to me. And she like looks down at the seeds, and there's this kind of like, obviously she's thinking like, oh, I only have 4 left. I gotta be strategic with my planting of these. But she picks out another one of these, kind of like, I guess, like like the horse chestnut like conkers. They're very spiky, but also bear-like.
Yeah.
And again, like grasps it in very delicately in long spindly thumb and forefinger, and holds it up to the sky.
Allura gets another sneak peek at it, just staring at the little seed while you're working with it.
And yeah, she like reaches over to like hold it in front of Alora to be like, this thing here.
Yeah.
There's also like,
I saw
there's
it
a great deal-
before.
There's a great deal of like, don't touch it, it's mine.
you can look at it, but don't touch. Yeah. She sort of squints at it and goes like, "Yeah, no, I saw. I made a whole drawing. Not a great drawing, but I made it." She like flips through her notebook and shows the like terrible drawing of the seed that she made last time she saw it.
I cannot afford to hold out too much hope that one will grow at home.
Well, this seems like
So-
the kind of place we may visit more than once, so we could check in next time we're here.
Indeed. Will you assist, Alora?
In what, gardening?
And she nods.
I'm not much of a horticulturist.
Are you one to shy from something you do not know?
No, of course not. But there's a difference between practical application and the theoretical knowledge of a thing. I know, in theory, how to garden. I've never done any gardening.
Good. Then together we possess both halves.
Do you not know in theory? It's like
There's kind of a shrug in that, like,
all right. Well, what kind of plant is it? Do you know? Does it need adequate light or moisture, or is it for arid environments, or all of these things change?
shadow.
Oh, So it's like a mushroom or a fungi of some sort. She notes this down, obviously.
It
as
is
she-
not a mushroom.
What?
Etienne looks on from the sidelines, not like getting involved. He's probably just like setting up his own stuff, and kind of looks up at the like night sky and kind of says to the pair, "This might be a good place for it then. No light here."
That is an incredibly relevant point that I had not considered. There is no sun here. Shadow, perfect. Yes, absolutely.
Something of this place reminds me of where I came from.
I mean, where
The
that
stars,
other thing came
the
from.
dark. Indeed. And she like kneels down. So like the whole process of planting this seed is very much like it's got the kind of ambience of one of those very ritualized tea ceremonies.
Yeah.
So I should interject at this point that the ground is fully packed with like greenery, right? There isn't a clear patch of like open dirt that you can just easily dig through.
Like
So
loam.
do you have any digging utensils?
No, I have fingers.
So you're
I
just
have an
you're literally
axe.
just that's basically like how are you going to be planting? Like I should interject with the like the reality of the garden itself. Like it's
Picking-
like it's overgrown essentially. So there's no free like space. There's no like easy place to just like move some
Picking a
dirt around and
spot
put it in.
and then just like ripping everything out of that spot.
Okay.
The application of brute force and fingers.
And I can maybe
So-
use the wooden shield I got as a very makeshift spade.
I should actually ask, like, when you're traveling and like generally what like your shield is equipped essentially, like it's not on your back, or is it something that you keep on your back and then like equip?
Yeah, I'm probably not wearing a shield all the time.
Okay. I mean, like keep that in mind, just like in general, like what?
Like, I will need to don it for combat.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah. But other than that, I like the shield. I don't think would be a very good utensil for digging because these are rooted plants that have been they're set in their spots and stuff. So you would need to rip them up first and then like rip up a big enough spot to like use the shield, because I think I picture the shield as it's wooden, right? Like you have a wooden shield.
Yeah.
So it's more like a plant, like a series of planks, sort of bound together in some way through either like a band of metal around it or something. It's not really like a shovel kind of. It's not a kite shield, for example. Like that is shaped like a shovel.
Yeah,
This is like
that would make a slightly better shovel.
yeah, this is like a wooden like series of planks basically with a strap that you can hold to like keep it to your arm basically.
So I guess it's mostly fingers then.
Well,
Okay.
Alora will also help cut things away. She has her dirk, so she has like a knife, which could theoretically like be of assistance in cutting away like overgrowth.
And to be clear, like there's no consequence to this decision.
Sure,
to, like, how you're
I'm
getting
just
to- I just wanna
I'm
make
just
sure that
saying
I'm
like
not,
like Urtica had said that Alora like should participate basically, so she's trying to like help.
And also, when I say there's no consequence, I just mean like there is a consequence to planting a seed, and there that angle. But how you're doing it is more of a flavor. Like I just wanted to know what it looks like, and like describing the actual greenery and stuff, just so we're clear, like verisimilitude wise. So you can help Urtica.
There's also, I mean, let's do this in character. Does this garden reset like the rest of the city? She asks Elora.
Well,
They were saying that things destroyed come back. That there is a natural state of things.
they do, but
and yet,
I also
I can tell you out of character if you'd like.
yeah. Thanks, my
Basically,
friends.
gardens are separate, but they're also connected. So it's a liminal space almost of like it's it's on its own schedule. Like if you're ripping up plants, for example, they won't grow back when the
So,
city shifts.
I
They
think
will stay at their own like pace. So the fruit you took won't be back if you just step out and step back in, kind of like resetting the
yeah.
zone kind of thing. So they do exist within the bounds of this hex. It's not going to vanish and change like
but it is its own
but
space.
it's got its own timer kind of thing.
Okay. So I think Laura like nods like, well, that's a wonderful question. Gardens have been a sort of notable phenomenon when it comes to the city itself, in that they don't share the same attributes as the district that they're in. If we leave and we come back, it nothing will grow faster than it would grow naturally. Here in the garden. So anything you rip out is going to be ripped out for a while. Same for the fruit, Etienne. The it won't be back for a little while. Until it grows again, obviously. So to answer your question, no, it doesn't reset. It doesn't change.
And
the
anything
same way.
planted will not be stolen away.
No, it shouldn't. No. That's why these places are so good to rest.
Are you not curious why?
Well, in all the texts that I've read, it's just that it is a deterministic phenomenon of the gardens themselves. So what the why, of course I'd like to know, but it is essentially a much larger question than just why don't gardens do this, because you have to then answer why does everything else do this, and we don't really know yet.
I come from somewhere more akin to this garden than, I mean, she like sweeps a hand then to the city.
Well, we should talk about that sometime. If you
Is this a piece of home? Is this a fissure in the nature of this place, or something else?
it could just be that the city has difficulty with organic growth, and something below the surface means that it becomes immutable. Though that's just a theory. There are 100 other theories that I could posit, but again, it would just be speculation.
I see something is scrutinizing us.
No, that's actually I rolled for you.
Ah,
So, as far as you're concerned, this garden is similar to the Shadow Garden only in so much that it is a garden, right? And that's a place where you grow things and things grow. But as far as like a connection to your realm of being that you were once a part of, you don't feel any special connection to like the Shadow Garden itself here. There's no like anything that you had linked with the night sky and that stuff. That's not something you feel here, and that's not something that gives you. You don't get that impression, and you don't remember that being a thing either. Like this is separate from like the Shadow Garden.
But maybe it will not be when the seed grows. Ooh.
this is a hypothesis to test.
So I think I'm gonna make you roll something. It's a secret test. So I'm not going to tell you the difficulty rating. So survival is traditionally the sort of plant growing thing. If you don't have the tradecraft or education skills of like botany or whatever. So I'm just going to make you roll a survival test.
Elora has survival, doesn't she?
She does, yes.
Because could you help? Because you've been
Yes.
mechanically helping.
Yeah.
I
with
get
I
the,
think that is perfectly all right if you would like to help.
I shall
And
help.
to help, just roll a d10.
Oof.
That does not help.
No, it
would
sure
you,
doesn't.
Would you like to
Do we
spend your
have-
fortune point?
Yeah, do we have any spendables? And
Yeah, we do.
Spend
Yeah, we
Well,
do have 3
currently,
fortune points left.
Yeah, I didn't actually update the thing, but you're right.
So how does fortune points interact with help?
I think I'll just let you you won't. Alora won't re-roll her
But
her
you'll
9.
re-roll your.
You will re-roll your survival test and take the new result. That's it, basically.
It turns out Alora's theoretical knowledge of
Hey,
gardening is
well,
not
maybe a.
particularly helpful.
Yeah. So you rolled a 37, and we don't know the difficulty rating. I know the
Yeah.
difficulty rating, but that's you get the impression, that you've planted the seed, and that perhaps it will grow. You don't feel like there's anything that went wrong with the whole ritual. Like you did you describe it as like a tea ceremony kind of thing. Like you did the proper procedures. You did what you at least remember to be the correct means of planting the seed, and that's where we'll leave it at that for that. Like knock off one of your seeds, obviously.
That
And,
detail for now, yeah.
Yeah, nothing else happens as far as instantaneous activation of like a shadow portal or anything like that. Nothing. You've planted a seed, and you assume that a seed will require time and other things to grow, but you don't know what those other things are. And that's it. I think if you unless you have anything else to do in this garden or like role playing scenes, I think we can move you on to the next hex essentially.
Onwards.
I am
After-
very much looking forward to seeing what carnomance means.
Yeah, right.
Because that's
So-
like meat magic.
Oh no.
Carnomancy.
First of all, everyone put your peril thresholds back
Yep.
to unhindered. And
Oh,
what else
no.
is there? Is there anything else? I think
This
that's it.
tile
That's it.
doesn't sound great.
Yeah.
You can't see the tooltips on those, right? Like
No,
No, we can just see the word
no.
carnival.
I can just
Right.
see the vaguely pinkish background and the word carnomance.
Okay, so Carnomance districts are quite a rare district, one that maybe none of you have any kind of experience with directly.
Oh, great.
I would say these are places of, as you guessed it, meat.
Oh God, I was right. Why was I right?
But this particular hex doesn't have that any kind of like meat qualities as far as the buildings and stuff.
Oh.
This is so in general there are places where food is generated
Oh,
essentially.
it's like an abattoir district.
Yeah, it's like abattoir and like farming, but also sort
Yeah.
of slaughterhouse, right?
Would the oubliette be
Castle.
considered a carnomance thing?
So the oubliette was special in that it was in a hex that was being occupied by the Wrath Iron Keep, which has its own special qualities and properties, which change the hex itself. Like it's superseded what Etienne doesn't actually know what kind of district the oubliette was in.
No, because I was
because
born after
it-
the Rathain Keep showed up.
Yeah, and so the Wrath Iron Keep is currently occupying that hex, and so the district of that hex is unknown. It's Wrath Iron Keep district essentially. Like so, maybe you might I don't. Is Urtica aware of the oubliette? Have you spoken about that at all?
Yeah, I've definitely talked about the oubliette and the flesh wall.
Okay, so both of you would assume that that's the Carnomance district, like as far as like meat walls and like meat fluids and strange things of that nature. But it also has you don't eat people, like
No.
so why would you be putting people in a hole, turning them into a meat wall? Like that part of it isn't carnomance. Like carnomance is more of like a farming, almost like food production. Like but there are you've heard tales of like rivers of blood and structures that look like carcasses and stuff like that. But this one has more of a sort of an open air to it, and it's the buildings are, none of them seem to be like habitat, like places people would be sleeping in or like staying in. It has this kind of this architecture that has a sense of like a parade ground almost, or like not a parade, like the Arc de Triomphe kind of like the run up to it, right?
Yeah.
Like a plaza.
Like an
type
open,
situation.
yeah, like a really open kind of like a wide streets. The buildings don't appear to have any purpose other than to like create the streets almost. Like they're not like buildings that people that resemble like habitat blocks, or they don't have any kind of quality to them, like the Cosmos district I described having a like observatory kind of like telescopic look to them.
Yeah.
These buildings seem to be like almost like blocks of like building just to define streets almost, and they all have balconies on them. They're all kind of like spectatorial, is that even a word? I don't know, but they're like
Mhm.
made for almost like just for people to stand and like observe the street from kind of thing. That's like the general feel as you step into this place. And I also realized we should roll on the weather table to decide
The
what
weather
kind of
table.
weather is. So someone roll me a d4.
I will not. Someone else must. There we go. Ink rolled a 4.
Okay. Oh, it's winter.
Oh God, frozen blood.
Cold, cloudy, snowy, breezy. So there's a light snow. It's very and this is a sharp change from the previous district, right? I didn't really describe the change, but this one is abrupt. It suddenly becomes daytime. It suddenly is snowing, and suddenly the streets are wide and uh, as I described them, sort of plaza-like, right? And all these buildings are uh, peppered with a very faint and like soft snow, right? There's no uh, starlight anymore. It's daylight, and cloudy daylight, right? So overcast, I guess. And now I must ask you what your approach to this hex is.
Well, supplies is something we are looking for. According to my notes, food would be good, and if the Carnomance districts are known to be a good place of like raw supplies, then I imagine we should probably take a look around.
Yeah, that seems like a good idea.
Agreed.
So the two options for looking around, well, the three options, but there's only two.
Well,
available
we'll do the general look around for first and foremost, I think.
So street level, the street level or building to building is essentially
the
the
street
question.
level, I think, is the way to go.
Yeah.
Okay, so like before, that's two people, one navigating and one doing the stealthy like.
All
scout,
right.
essentially.
Navigation. Man, it's good I have navigation, given that it is very.
Okay, your stealth roll is a failure,
I can
and
flip
you're
that.
no longer getting the benefit from your special ability because it's currently
Ah.
daytime.
Rip. Where's my navigation roll? How am I not finding? My brain is just like glazing over. Okay, there it is. Yeah, we also failed a navigation roll.
So
We get lost in the meat district.
Loudly.
I'm gonna need some rolls.
We get
obviously.
loudly lost in the meat district.
It's that
look
one episode of Star
good.
Trek: The Next Generation where Riker just walks up to a big canyon and goes, "Anybody?"
So I'm gonna need several d6 rolls, and I think Ertica, please roll me 2d6. Okay, and
Four.
Elf, Elora, I would like 3d6.
Okay. There you go.
Okay, now someone roll me a d8.
I'll roll that. A 7.
7. Okay. Let's see.
I love all the random dice rolls and Butt Prince just consulting the oracle.
Yeah, I mean you can't see me, so obviously you can just imagine someone poring over a series of random tables and like a bunch of files and stuff that I have to click through. Let's see, where is my thing for this place? So first of all, you're lost, right? Like as far as like
Yeah.
lost in the sense that you don't find you're not you're sort of aimlessly wandering
We are
around.
wandering the streets.
Nothing has nothing has
I also
grabbed your
imagine that the
attention.
snow must make it a lot harder to like, keep track of your bearings because, you'll be walking and then like a flurry of, snow will come around you.
I also think Alora's not particularly good at Cardaman's districts. I don't know. This is just something that I believe about
Yeah, the
her.
streets are all geometrically like aligned in a way that you're maybe not familiar with, or like you not fully understand the like the way that they interconnect. And like one street is super long, and then it breaks off into five
Oh
finger
God,
like
I was going to
directions.
say,
And, like
when you said fingers, you know what I'm picturing? I'm picturing we're walking along, and then the camera like pulls up and away from us, like up into the sky, and it's just the entire district is this like skeletal like framework that actually looks like a corpse, but like all bones, and each street is a different bone.
yeah, that's an image that I will recall when it is
Oh no!
applicable, because that is very much something that you will see in places. Here, it's more like a star, or like
Mhm.
you know, it's not organic. The shape, contrary to some Carnamans districts, this one is very set. And so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Roll me a d6 again, please.
Another D6.
Yeah,
Okay.
anyone at all.
I'm on it.
I should roll it myself, but I'm currently holding my notes, which I
One.
realized were. Oh, okay. And okay, I will roll this one secretly. All right. So you're currently both of you failed, right? So
Yes.
and I'm not sure how aware you are of your failures, but I will describe the way that you're interacting with this place as not particularly subtle, because you failed the stealth scouting roll, and not particularly directed. Right? You're
No.
not. You have nothing has grabbed your attention. You're sort of just like trying to get your bearings. Still, you're
Looking
not
for
like,
something to do.
yeah, and nothing has taken your attention. Nothing. You haven't figured out the layout. Like the way you've managed in the Cosmos district is you had figured out the street, like the streets sort of array, and like you saw the fish lines going up and stuff, and you like followed them to where there was a concentration of them. Like here, you're just walking around in like down streets, through corridors and stuff, alleyways and stuff like that. And I think essentially you are completely caught off guard by a pair of creatures. And I would describe these things as skulls with legs.
Oh.
Mm.
So these two enormous, I mean, like bigger than a person, sort of, but well, I'd say
This is giving me some
well,
Neo vibes.
they're like large. They're large. They're large enough to be like maybe because person sizes varies in this setting, right? So I should get in the habit of like describing specifically rather than like bigger than a person. They're ogre sized, like as far as like general mass,
Yeah.
but not height, right? So a skull, that is large enough to take up the same space as an ogre would, essentially. So, like, I don't know how many feet tall, but imagine a large skull that's probably like a large bear sized kind of, right? About that height. And they have like red meat legs. Imagine a skinless,
Yep.
skinless meat uh, that are protruding out from the base of them, and their mouths are strangely shaped for skulls. They're skulls in the sense that they're made of bone and that they have eye sockets and nose sockets and a mouth, but they are not shaped in any skull configuration that you're familiar with as far as like anatomy of like a person's skull, right? So these are sort of skulls with legs. It's just how I'd put it, essentially. But they're alien skulls in their sense. Like they're not They're not people skulls.
I'm picturing. I can't remember what the creature's name is, but those kind of two-legged mount creatures in the Mandalorian, but with like skulls, with rather than like kind of more reptile-looking.
Yeah.
I'm picturing giant
And-
intellect devourers.
Yeah,
I would like you.
kind of.
I would like you to roll initiative. I think.
Oh,
And I think
okay.
also this is where we're gonna like
We'll
stop the
cut.
session,
We'll
'cause I
cut
realize-
today, but
well,
into
we're-
a fight. Okay.
Yeah, so let's roll initiative now, and then
I
we'll
love it.
start the combat. How do I clear initiative? Let's see.
There should be a button. Yeah.
I shouldn't have done that. I
We
should've
don't have any
man-
tokens. Our tokens are not on this page, so we
Yes.
can't.
Okay, so
go
I
down.
gotta bring you to the battle map.
You need to
again.
add a D10 to that.
Yeah, I know.
So let's see. Let's just bring you over to a generic map. Since we're taking a break between sessions, I'll like do an actual map by the time we come back. But here is the grid.
The old
And
hex grid.
Please roll initiatives. But yeah, you're like you're not surprised by this, but you're also not going to be able to sneak up on them or like decide how you interact with these creatures, right?
For sure.
That was the failed stealth roll. So this is why we're rolling initiative now, as opposed to letting you narrate how you approached them and so on.
All right. A combat.
Yeah, and it's definitely a fight. Like I'm not.
They are approaching. They are approaching with the desire to fight. Yes, like it's obvious. Yeah. All right. Well, initiatives are rolled. We can.
Yeah, I can figure that out between.
we can just leave it here. Let's do like shout outs and where to find us and stuff. Let's start with Butt Prince, our lovely GM.
So I'm Butt Prince. You can find me here running this game on Tuesdays at whatever time it is where you are right now. And you can also find me on Twitter at Buttopian, and I post stuff about weird TTRPG settings and art sometimes. That's me.
Yeah.
I'm very interested in your Funnelverse idea.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you'll get to play that one day, I'm sure, if I ever fit.
Let's do Ink next.
I am Inkovid. I am suffering from allergies.
No.
They them pronouns. You can also find me on the Blue Hell site at Inkovid, basically everywhere, and right here on Else Channel at this time, playing hashtag The City is the End.
Yeah. Jeevesy?
Yes, hi, I'm Jeevesy. They or he pronouns. You can find me on Twitter at JeevesBun or at Bookstrek, where I have just finished reading a very, very bad Star Trek novel and am now starting to read a very, very good Star Trek novel. So. Oh, and also I should probably say that my very nice token art that you can see there was drawn for me by at Martin Face on Twitter. Martin like the animal.
Yeah. And then there's then there's me. Hello.
Sorry, I was just trying.
I'm Elf. This is my channel where I live. You can follow me here or on Twitter at DistractedElf. I'm very tired. It's very early in the morning. I'm gonna go back to sleep, I think, right after this. So have yourselves a lovely rest of your day, friends. Thanks for coming and checking out The City is the End.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.